Hello, everybody, and welcome to my new, very fun YouTube show slash podcast situation. I'm Sabrina Scott, and this is the Heal and Harm show. And this is Nick from the Occult Rejects, who is really awesome.
Thanks.
Well, say hello.
What's going on? Thank you very much for having me on, Sabrina. Thank you, for asking. So that's
Oh
really
my
good.
God. Of course, I'm really excited. This is the first recording that I'm doing. It's just so everyone knows. I don't know what order we're going to release these in, so we'll see. I'm super, super stoked. And as I was just explaining to Nick, the whole point of this show being called the Heal and Harm Show is because I've seen so many people get into spirituality or try to get into spirituality and then end up like way more fucked up at the end of it than when they entered into it. And the phrase obviously comes from that phrase that we all know and love, a witch you can't harm, can't heal. And so there's a lot of importance, in my opinion, about being able to kind of walk that line between one and the other. And also, I think talking about what happens when people try to heal themselves and then end up worse off than when they started. And unfortunately, I think we do see that in a lot of spiritual
Yeah, yeah,
spaces.
it's a really
Not
good.
all of them, not all of them, of course. And I think a lot of people do find their way out of the mud if they get in there in the first place. But I just want to talk about that and have a show that's kind of showcasing interesting conversations about the dark and the light aspects of all of these things. So that's my little intro. And so before we get into all of the bazillion questions I've got for Nick, I wanted to ask you to introduce yourself in your own words. Why should people know and care about you? Why are you the best, etc.? Like
Yeah, yeah.
tell me everything.
I do have experience of being well, I have the podcast, The Occult Rejects. It's on BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, and all major podcast hosts. The difference with my show, I think it's better than others, is well, one, I there is a lot of occult shows out there that I have noticed in the conspiracy community where these people have never practiced. Now, I'm sure that's probably not the case in the occult community, but I do have that under my belt. I was a member of the OTO for quite a bit, and I was in ceremonial magic, and I still study the Kabbalah and stuff. I do have that behind me as experience. And the show is not just me, it's a conglomerate of other people that are into other things that I'm not into. So when we cover a topic or we have a guest, we come at it from different angles. Um, but yeah, one thing that's different too that I would even say with my show is that me and a few other people sometimes they're not into it as much as I am. I do look at physiology, and I do think there is a tie with occult symbolism and occultism just with the body itself. So I
Mhm.
do try to point that out. A lot of people think it's crazy or whatever, but I think I might be onto something. I think.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so many questions about this. What inspired you to start that show? And also not starting it alone. Like I haven't delved into your whole catalog, because I'm sure like most people didn't dive into mine as a very prolific creator on terms of the work that you're doing. So what inspired you to kind of begin a show, and also why that name Occult Rejects? So I remember when you reached out to me to be on your show, like that, I actually never heard of your show, but that name Occult Rejects just instantly resonated with me.
Thanks.
So like how did that come to be?
All right. Believe it or not, well, what made me get into podcasting, like I mentioned earlier, I was in the OTO. This was around COVID time, and I had already kind of stopped going for a little bit, probably about 5, 6 months. I really wasn't going anymore. And every once in a while, I would do like a Zoom meeting if they had those, rarely. And then COVID came, and I was like, oh, you know what? Since there ain't nothing to do, maybe I'll jump on there. And then like I just started noticing that well, first I just thought it was weird that they closed because of COVID. I was like, Jesus Christ has his doors open. Horus is scared. Like, I don't know. It just didn't make sense to me. I also didn't expect the order to like agree with the government that fast. I just thought it was weird. So that like did kind of irk me. And then it just like I had certain experiences with them where I just felt like they started because of the Zoom situation, they started pushing kind of like a political ideology actually that I
Mm.
never noticed before, and that kind of had made me uncomfortable. So basically, eventually, like I kind of just left. Um, and then like because of that, like I got into the occult, believe it or not, due to conspiracies a long time ago. I got into the
That is
conspiracy
so
community.
interesting. 'Cause I feel like I actually haven't often heard that lineage of thought. So
Yeah, yeah,
that's interesting because I have absolutely no real experience with the conspiracy community. That's not really my thing, but I'm totally happy to hear you talk about it. And like, how did that all happen? How did we get?
yeah. So, well, I guess like younger, I believed in like aliens, and I grew up in Ronkonkoma in Long Island, and people, if anybody knows that area at all, probably not. It has like a lot of Indian lore to it. So like you get like oh the hauntings is probably the Indian graves and stuff like that. So just growing up, I was already kind of like even though like grew up in a Christian household, a Catholic almost kind of. Um, I was still exposed to the idea. My father believed that the aliens might be, real or possible, and they believed in ghosts. So I already had that like up my sleeve to kind of like veer off from, I guess, typical religion. Eventually, like I don't know what it was. I got into conspiracies. I think I believe it or not. I was watching like an alien thing on YouTube, and it was on like it just went to a next video on its own, and it went to Project Camelot. And that was kind of like a almost a podcast style show of people like interviewing like whistleblowers and stuff like that. And it was kind of like a long line, like, aliens and stuff like that. That caught my attention. And then like I started to see people like Jordan Maxwell, Michael Tessarian, Mark Passio, David Icke. So all those people were kind of big names, but they do also focus on the occult.
Hmm.
I found that very interesting because I was open to that and do believe that was possible as well. So that caught my attention, and I kind of just started like kind of like getting into that, studying that myself, going down rabbit holes, just trying to learn about the occult. And after a while, like years of just like listening to stuff, watching things, I was like, I still don't know what magic is. I was like, I'm just like following these names of these supposed bad people in all these different countries that started this order, started that order, did this horrible shit, all that stuff. And I was like, well, maybe I should just actually get books and like start practicing. And then I had a couple of books, and then I realized like um, one of them had Liberesh in it, which was by Crowley, and it wasn't actually the same way it was written in Crowley's or Liberesh. And I was like, what the hell's that? Like, there's a discrepancy. So then I was like, well, I guess books are a problem too. Like, I don't know. I was just like, how does that happen? Like, I literally have one book in front of me, and it's not even the same. So I was like, well, maybe I should actually get involved in an order where I know they have like suggested, depending on what you get into, they'll have kind of like a formula for everything that they say supposedly works, and stick to that. And I kind of spoke to a few people that I knew from being in occult groups on Facebook. I was told if I wanted to get into magic and I joined Freemasonry, it would take way too long. He said if you
Oh, right.
wanted, yeah, they said you'll be there for probably like 10, 15 years before you even acknowledge like, magic. Um, then the same person said, why don't you try like the Golden Dawn, the OTO, or Martinism, which I knew all those already. And I was like, all right, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Because those places are kind of like opening, they're like, ceremonial magic. As soon as you walk into place, it's in your face.
Mhm.
So I went and like looked for those places, and unfortunately, well, fortunately, I guess anyway, the OTO was the only thing near me. It was like 25 minutes away in Queens. So I was like, all right, I guess I don't have much of a choice. I looked up a Gnostic Mass, watched it on YouTube, so there was no nudity. So
Yeah.
went to it the first time, and there was tits out. I wasn't expecting that, so that did kind of shock the shit out of me. I was like, oh fuck, we got titties here. What else is happening? I thought I was like turning to Eyes Wide Shut. But obviously, it wasn't bad enough. I stayed for about another 6 or 7 years. So,
So how
um,
long ago was this that you started out with the OTO?
oh man, it was probably I would say before 2015, or
Oh,
around there, maybe around there, around 2015.
sure.
So I was
Like,
probably in the OTO for about 5, 6 years.
all right, cool. That was like 10-ish years ago that you were kind of like, all right,
Mm.
we gotta sort out what this occult stuff is all about.
Mm. And well, again, like I was already into it then. I just didn't join anything yet.
Hmm.
So yeah, I left. Yeah, all right. What was I saying?
You're talking
Yes,
about
I did. Go ahead.
and the boobs.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The Gnostic Mass and the boobs. Yes. So eventually, like they had other things there. They had classes where you could learn like candle magic, tinctures, history stuff. So there was other things that even they like the priestess was telling me. I guess trying to sell the OTO to me was like, there's other things here besides the Gnostic Mass that we do that you might find interesting. So I was like, all right, I'll take a look at that, and I did enjoy it. And so like I guess again 6 years, 5 years later, I was still there until I left. But yeah, I ended up joining that literally kind of like in the search of trying to find people or a system that
Mm,
was I didn't have to worry about things like you could still argue, believe it or not, with all that shit anyway, which I saw plenty of that. But it was supposed to be a little bit more of like structured. So at least I knew like just stick to this and I should get, whatever I'm trying to get from. get out of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just briefly, a lot of my audience is very like witchy oriented. Can you just explain for them what the OTO is? Because it's a very different style of practice than I think a lot of my audience is more familiar with.
Yeah, it's a ceremonial magic. It was originally a Freemason order. The Freemasons made it was like a outer order or kind of an extension. It was more, I think, based on ceremonial magic. And this story is supposedly like the guy's Theodore Roos, and I always forget the other guy's names. Supposedly, I think read Crowley's Book of the Law, maybe, or read something that he wrote, and they were like, "Oh, he's like talking about our secrets and blah blah blah." They got in contact with him, and he's like, "I don't even know who you are," supposedly. And then somehow they ended up giving him the order. So, I mean, it's a very interesting story. And then he changed it. He knocked out like most of the degrees and brought it down to 13. That's including Minerval and 12 other degrees, and changed the initiations. He made it like the Book of the Law is the main thing. And yeah, it was just, but it's a secret society that is much more structured in ceremonial magic,
Hmm.
and kind of and based on Aleister Crowley's Book of the Law. So,
And when you were there, is it mostly men who were kind of attracted to that practice, or was it more mixed? Because I find in witchcraft spaces it does tend to be very female dominated.
oh yeah, I would actually say, believe it or not, from my experience, I would say the witchcraft community is more female dominated than the males are in the ceremonial magic community.
Hmm.
Yes, it is. You will see more men, but not as drastic as it is like with witchcraft with women. You'll probably get like 70-30,
Okay.
60-40, where I'll just from my experience, it's like 90-10 when it comes to witchcraft. It's like there's one or two dudes out of the whole thing.
Pretty much. Yeah,
And like one of them's the priest who's like fucking half of them already anyway.
pretty
So
much.
yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. It's definitely interesting how that works. And so how far into the degree system and all of that shit did you get?
I did Minerval first and second.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. And so what was the benefit that you got out of that experience? Not to speak like so clinically about it,
Yeah.
but clearly there was a reason why you kept going back and you were getting some kind of benefit out of that practice. Like what about it really resonated and what about it improved your life?
Um, I did think there was something there. I'm not a huge fan of the personality we've been given about Aleister Crowley.
Mm.
Considering he was even in intelligence, I kind of question almost every story about him.
Yeah.
So who knows what's true? But I wasn't a huge fan because it is possible the guy was a degenerate.
Yep,
So I
absolutely.
was I was really going there to meet other people that practiced, people that were into ceremonial magic. Because like even again, like before I joined there were certain rituals that either came from the Golden Dawn that Crowley promoted, or there were certain things that Crowley did himself that I was interested in. So that was kind of like, all right, I'll go to the OTO. But I learned a lot more different ideas of magic. I learned a lot of basics there of things that I didn't know existed. At one point, I did start like kind of like enjoying, like I started getting involved in the Gnostic Mass. I would be one of the children. And like just for various reasons. One, after you're there for a while, they may ask you to start doing things. And two, as corny as it sounds, it kind of does in certain ways limits how often those boobs are in my face. So I'm just gonna be completely honest. Not every chick I want to see her tits. I'm sorry. It's just a weird, I don't
I
know.
understand. Yeah.
Especially it's like that's my boy's wife. What the fuck? Like weird.
Yeah, it is interesting. And like for anyone listening to this who doesn't know and who thinks that is just like a weird thing in that space, it's like actually like a lot of OG Wiccan stuff is also nude or like sky clad as they call it in that space. And I actually practiced with a like traditional witchcraft style Wiccan group for like a year or two. I can't remember now, back in my early 20s. And I was more in like the outer circle of that. And I was kind of just doing it like for fun and just to kind of see. Because like I've never been Wiccan and I will never be Wiccan, but I just kind of wanted to just hang out and vibe and just see how did they do ritual. And that was really, really interesting. But I know that they did kind of transition things to the sky clad nudity side of stuff. Like if I decided to be initiated, let's say I would have been a part of those rituals too, but it's really interesting to talk about like is it necessary? Like I don't personally think so.
No, no. I think even if you're trying to use occult symbolism, I still think there's other ways you could pull it off.
Yeah,
In
like
my
it just seems
opinion.
a bit like excessive and unnecessary to me. So it is interesting. Like there is this kind of shock factor. to it, I think. I don't know.
Well,
But
an interesting thing about it, though, if you think it, I don't know if you know this, Gerald Gardner, that's the guy who started Wicca. He was a student of Aleister Crowley's, and Crowley
yeah.
didn't even give him permission to open up an OTO lodge.
Yep.
He
And
was
so,
heavily into Thelema, but he probably just figured Wicca was more profitable for him instead.
you know what? It's interesting. I have a connection from speaking in a bunch of like Canadian pagan witchy conferences and stuff over the years, which seem to be mostly defunct now for some reason. But in my 20s, there was like a lot that was going on. I met a lot of very interesting people, including some people with like connections to like Gardnerian stuff. And I met this lovely person who did their master's thesis on the original Gardnerian Book of Shadows. And I keep
Oh,
telling
nice.
like, please, for the love of God, like publish this research. It's so interesting. And in the research, she basically like found that a hefty amount, which I'm sure you already know this, is given what you just said, a hefty amount of that original Gardnerian Book of Shadows is Crowley. And so she was able to basically demonstrate that of like, where does all of this come from? And like exactly narrow it down.
There was a
And
couple of people on my show that came up with the idea. I think it might have been Hellas at one point had said like, "Yo, we should go through his stuff and pull out like stuff that you'd be like, that's almost him copying Crowley,"
yeah,
because he said he's heard this before.
yeah, so like that was basically the master's thesis, and it's like a bazillion pages long, and it like goes like very in depth of like what all comes from where, like what are the sources of all of this
I
stuff.
think Charge of the Goddess rips off almost verbatim Crowley stuff, if I remember correctly.
Nice. Yeah, and it is interesting. Like I'm not a scholar of any of that shit. Like I'm not OCD enough to, like go do a line by line. Like I really admire the people that are because it's such important work to be doing, and there's so many weird misconceptions
Yeah,
out there about these practices. So I love that this person did that research in depth. I just wish
and that's not your job though.
published. Because like I want to cite this thesis to
Yeah,
everyone.
right.
It's so interesting. I'm just like, please publish this. Like it's so
I like
fascinating.
telling Wiccans that Aleister Crowley influenced their thing because they hate Aleister Crowley for some
Yeah. And it's so weird. And like I think Wicca gets such a bad rap online these days for a lot of different reasons. And a lot of people are making these bizarre accusations about it that aren't even like true.
Oh,
It's
that happens to, I mean, even the OTO gets that.
And actually, speaking back to the OTO stuff, can you explain for folks who don't know, like what the Gnostic Mass like is? Like, what is the point of that? Because again, like a lot of my audience probably doesn't know that because they're more in like the animistic, witchy, like mediumshipy type of space and haven't really dove into that ceremonial magic type of stuff. Like, I basically tell my people that it exists, but you got to learn about it from someone who's not me because it's not my thing.
The Gnostic Mass. Well, one thing Crowley even says it is was influenced by the Russian Orthodox Catholic Church. Honestly, it looks a lot like a cult. Well, Catholicism already is a cult, I think, anyway. But I guess a cult in Catholicism that takes Jesus out of the equation. It's basically the man having experience with God. During the Gnostic Mass, you are supposed to be, I think, witnessing the man cross the abyss and have an experience, and then comes back and has something to say about it. But yeah, pretty much it's the man crossing over, or woman, whatever, the human being having an experience with God.
So
And
can you?
it looks a lot like Catholic Church. There's times where you'll have, like I mentioned before, the children. You'll have a priest and a priestess. You'll have a deacon. Sometimes the deacon comes out and will like say certain things, and then everybody does their stuff. The two children are not children, but they're like one person will be following the priestess at a point, and then hands stuff to the priest. One will have water and salt, which is used, to do around the altar at a certain time, and the other one holds the incense and the burner. So those will follow the priestess. They do a few things, and they go up to the front. Then the priest comes up, puts the priestess up on the table, says a whole bunch of shit. They close the thing. Then she reopens it up, titties out, things. It's a whole bunch of stuff. But in my opinion, I mean, it's deeply occulted, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, even when you watch like certain ways that they're walking, you already see like a DNA type of thing being made down the middle of it. It's just like, there's tons of, or at least a caduceus, you know,
Mhm.
there's tons of stuff in there that it's deeply occulted. I even think, believe it or not, like amount of steps people take, like
Mm,
count.
interesting. And so did you find that ritual like meaningful, impactful, or was it kind of like much ado about nothing?
Uh, I was very intrigued by it because I do believe there's a lot in there. I just feel like it's deeply coded. Yeah. Yeah, I do. I've watched it since I've left the OTO. Like even when I had like prior to leaving or right around the time I was leaving, I did have my own magical experiences, and I do think I've crossed the abyss. Looking at the mess now, since then, it's completely different anyway for me.
Mm,
Like now, I would actually like I've watched it recently with somebody because they're interested in like seeing what it was like, and I would like, and it's just intrigued me more. But it's like, not that I want to cover it because that's kind of like a, I would like to cover it, but that's kind of a very big whatever thing to take on to actually say this is someone to have an opinion on that. They better know what the fuck they're talking about.
yep.
But I'm
That's
very intrigued to look at it and like kind of start picking at it now.
Yeah, you should. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people find that very interesting, like including myself, because it's like I
So
never heard
symbolic.
that, but I'm curious.
I mean, you move things a certain way and like touch things. It's just like, what is all that for? I don't think it's like we're just throwing that in there to make you look weird. It means
Yeah.
something.
I wonder though sometimes about that stuff. Like, have you read the Alan Moore essay Fossil Angels? I'm sure you
Oh,
have.
no, I haven't actually.
It's so good. I'll send it your way over Instagram.
Okay.
And
Hell yeah.
the TLDR is basically he is saying that a lot of occultism is like a fossil angel, so to speak. So it's just people doing shit in a certain way over time and then forgetting, like, hold on, why are we even doing it this way?
Oh yeah,
Just
I think
kind
that
of like
happens all the time.
trusting in the repetition of it to the extent that it becomes fossilized, even though at the beginning of why people were doing it that certain way was because it served a purpose, or there was an original meaning to it, or there was some kind of why, or some kind of basic mundane level practicality for it. And then it just becomes kind of calcified into this unquestioned tradition, let's say. So he was kind of bitching about that in this very interesting essay and basically saying like we need magic to become a little bit more alive again and less like we need to.
Yeah, that's I think it was so weird how like it's kind of jumping ahead. Eventually, we're gonna get to it probably. Like I again with even my podcast, I wanted to kind of go into the occult community and touch on occultism and show that because like there's so much in a box, everything's evil, everything's dicks and demons. Like the occult community has like an even worse idea of what magic is than even the magic community. I hate to say it. And like I kind of wanted to go over there and try to like educate people on that. But like I do think like that is a huge problem just in occultism, magic, or whatever you want to call it, that we have just some reason like just accepted what other people I guess wrote books or came before us that gave very kind of bland answers about what's what and just accepted that and don't research or look into anything else ourselves. And
Mhm.
then I think, or like my experience even with the OTO, people would regurgitate Crowley's own shit. It's like, does that even mean anything to you? You didn't even write that. How heartfelt is that?
Mhm.
Are you really having any passion in your ritual? You're just regurgitating his shit.
Yep.
So it's like, in another thing, just you even know what this means. It's not personal to you.
Mhm.
So like, I do feel like a lot has been lost in like searching for like, what does this really mean? Why are we doing this?
Mhm.
Or like, I don't know. Just a lot is being left out. And I think like just being regurgitated, like you said, it's just a shell with nothing in it.
It's very weird and like that to be honest is why I left that Wiccan group at the end of the day because like I probably like would have been like let's be initiated, why not, let's go on an adventure because like my attitude towards a lot of this stuff is very like Hunter S. Thompson, like let's try it, like
No, I'm the same way. Yeah.
why not? Like, I mean, let's go on an adventure. Let's have a fun story to tell about it.
Yeah.
But
Did I like it or not? Was it for me or not?
yeah, and like we were, I think I was helping the main people prepare for some ritual we were doing. I can't remember what like Sabbath it was, but I remember they were like prepping the herbs and they pulled out their like holy binder of shadows and were like looking up, like, hold on, what do we need to be doing? And I was just like, what the hell is going on right now? And it's like, I respect people's holy binders or whatever, but like when I do ritual, it's like, it's pretty intuitive or like I already am knowing okay, energetically, like here's the herbs that I'm being pulled to, or you just kind of know. Like I'm not gonna be choosing my herbs or whatever the hell it is I'm working with solely based on like looking it up in my holy little binder of like, okay, this is what we're doing today. Okay, cool. And I get that some people really resonate with practicing that way, but for me, it just feels very lifeless. It's like, okay, so we're just like you said, like regurgitating this thing that was, repeated in however many books about whatever. It's like, where's the heart and soul of it? Like, where's the experimentation of it? It's like, okay, so herb ABC is not a traditional herb for blah, blah, blah Sabbath. Like, who cares? Like, that's what we feel like we want to use and work with, and that energy that we want to connect with. So, like, let's work with that. Like, there was none of that kind of intuitive, kind of like heart-driven way of choosing what it is that we're doing.
Yeah.
And again, like some people are really going to resonate with that kind of regimented, structured, we're going to follow the book type of way of practicing. Like that's totally fine. Like if anyone listening to this is like, I love the book and following instructions, like that doesn't bug me. Like go hard, do it. But there's so many other different ways to do this stuff. And like where is the heart, where is the soul, I think is always important to wonder about and remember and connect with, especially since like who was even writing those correspondences in the first place? Like, they're doing the heart soul work to like, suss out like where does it come from? It's like that comes from someone's heart and soul work engaging with the spirit of that plant or like whatever it is. And so many people are just happy to like abdicate their connection to the spirit and just like follow whatever the book says. And I'm not saying don't read books, but it's like
Yeah.
let's talk to the spirits themselves of the plant, the gemstone, like whatever it is.
You gotta have your own experience with this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And like I think a lot of people are afraid to do that for whatever reason. Like maybe they're afraid of being wrong or feeling dumb or like whatever it happens to be. But like for me, a lot of this practice is so much about getting into the heart of it, like getting messy, like getting our hands dirty, trying stuff. Like it's not just about being like an armchair magician, which I think we probably both have seen a lot of
Oh yeah.
on the internet. And it's like very clear to me when some people haven't practiced. Like if people have practiced and it's like completely out of my realm of what I do, like I feel like I can still tell that like they know some of what the hell it is they're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
There'll be like certain words and certain phrases that you could tell, like if somebody knows what they're talking about or not.
Yeah. Or even just certain ways of talking about ritual and talking about
Yes, yes, yeah.
we're using like different words to describe it. It's like very clear that like we both kind of know like what's going on and tapping into something and like what is that experience like? And it's fun and it's interesting. And honestly, when I was getting into it as a kid, like it was kind of spooky because you're like, holy shit, this is real. It's like I can understand why people would be afraid of that or want to kind of keep that at arm's length, but I don't think that's like the best way to go about it personally.
Oh, I had a lot of fun doing ritual work,
Yeah,
experimenting and stuff. I mean, maybe I wasn't doing crazy, edgy stuff, so I guess I wasn't always too scared, but I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I got to experiment different ways of contacting planetary energies, different ways of attributing the Kabbalah, that may not have been normal for everybody else, but it seemed to work for me.
absolutely. And I think a lot of people are afraid to deviate like from the book or like whatever is normal. Like I think it's great that you're experimenting with all of that. And in my work, that's one thing I always try to like push on people is like please experiment. Like try
Yeah.
stuff. Like move with your intuition, like try this, try that. Like maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But either way, like you're doing the trial and error, you're skill building, like you're gonna learn something, you're gonna experience something.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember even just with doing my rituals, like I would try to even figure out like when I'm putting meditations in and doing this and that. Like, even just as silly as it is like if you look at how somebody else normally would do their ritual work, maybe you move two things around, and like for me,
Yeah,
that helped my mindset stay in it better and not get distracted and actually feel more connected.
100%. Yeah.
I'm saying like something as silly as that, like maybe you just make it, make it personal to work for you.
Absolutely. And like the personalization aspect, I think it's something that a lot of people seem to need permission for, which I find really interesting. And I always try to tell people when I teach them that, like, if I'm teaching them, let's say, like energy shielding or something like that, and they don't resonate with like certain colors, I'm like, just change it to a color that you really feel safe around and you really do feel that protection energy from. Like, what color it is doesn't like necessarily matter the most. Like, we could go into color symbolism. I know you've got a video about that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we could go into that, but like it's always again that as you were saying that personal relevancy and that personal connection. It's like what helps someone get there spiritually is going to be different from someone else. Like we all are going to have our unique entry points into
Yeah.
being able to access like that higher state of consciousness or a spiritual flow state. And I think there's just room for everyone to do like interesting, cool practices, which is why I'm always telling people like write your own book, like do your own thing. Like please, like we need more interesting people talking in interesting ways about these practices. Like it doesn't just have to be like the same kind of like crap again and again and again. Like let's innovate, let's experiment, like share all of that. Like personally,
I
I
also
love.
think if people do that, you might actually find these subtle commonalities that flow between everything that is probably the most important thing. And you see everybody doing it. You know what I'm saying? If
Absolutely.
you look at stuff like that too.
Yeah.
That's why I
Absolutely.
like my show. A lot of times when we have people who have a different way of looking at the same situation, we all kind of end up in the same answer, but just
Hmm.
it may look a little different because it's a different flair or a different belief. But it all
Absolutely.
boils down to the same thing sometimes. And I
So
think
speaking of that, like what inspired you to have so many folks
that,
come on
all
the show?
right.
Like, can you describe for folks like kind of how it works for people who aren't familiar?
Yeah, how that worked out was really kind of like a blessing, and I didn't even try to make it like that at first. Originally, I came out by myself and I just had guests on, and that was like for maybe a month. And then somebody had heard me on Lift the Veil. I was on Lift the Veil like real quick. Somebody he had me on because I showed him like my OTO paperwork, so he believed me. So he had me on, and somebody had heard me on that show and contacted me, and I had him on my podcast, which was the NY Patriot Show. That old, you remember that's that email. I think you even contacted me. That's how, yeah, that was associated with that. And then me and him were talking, and I was like, I'd really like to have a show where we actually cover the occult. We could do conspiratorial stuff, and I was like, then we could even do stuff like talk about Kabbalah, sigils, silly stuff, just easy stuff to like get the public understanding what
Hmm.
this entails. Tarot. I was just like, because like I think you know how it is. Like if it wasn't for our ego and just being so scared, technically we probably could get on screen and freestyle tons of stuff just from our own experience.
100%.
So I used to be like, dude, like, how easy the basic stuff for us would be for people who know nothing about it. We'd have tons of that to talk about. So I thought it was going to kind of turn into that. We did it for about a year and a half, and his name was Lux, and he was just more a little bit more along the lines of like always wanting to cover like Freemasons or like pedophiles. Like he was always trying to like cover like the sensational bad guys shit, and I was just like, it's getting fucking tiring, dude. And I'm like, do you realize like I was in the OTO, he was supposedly in the Golden Dawn. I was like, we were in these orders as well, guy. Not
Hmm.
all of us are assholes, right? So it's just like even weird too. It's just like I'm shitting on like these occult orders, but I was in one.
Yeah.
I'm saying, and I maybe I disagree with the OTO. I'm sure some people in that organization do fucked up shit, but from my experience, it's not what people probably think it is.
Hmm.
It's actually those motherfuckers are scared of their own shadow. They're not doing crazy shit inside that lodge, or at least not when I was there. You know, but so like I kind of got tired of doing that, and then like at one point, I don't know what it was or how it happened, but I ended up finding out like this dude was just like lying about like a lot of stuff, like his whole life.
Oh my God.
And
The
you
guy
know
that
what I
owns
think it
the
was?
show.
He was very secretive, and he still would not use his camera the whole time I knew him. But I knew who he was. And one time he flipped on his webcam by accident to share something. So I saw him for a split second. So now I knew who he was. Oh,
Wow.
this is how it was straight up. This is so silly. My wife at the time, it was irking her that she's like, you really don't know who the hell this guy is. And I was like, not
God.
really. I was like, I know his name. I know what state he's from. I was like, now I know what he looks like. She's like, all right, now if you know what she looks like, she literally paid like the $5 online to like look this dude up.
I would too,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. And she found him. She found him. And then I was like, oh man. So like I found this shit online and I was like, yo, this guy's been unemployed for like 2 years. And this guy like makes me think that he's got a fucked up work schedule. And that's why he keeps on canceling. Like I just started realizing I was like, what the fuck? Like this dude's been lying to me. Like this is the thing. Like he was very secretive at first. I don't ask too many questions. There's guys on my show that I can tell you right now, I really don't know a damn thing that they do after they get off the podcast. Be totally honest with you. I'm not intrusive like that. So I'm not asking this dude anything. So he's one of those people that would just offer stories. So like now you're telling me what your job is. I never asked you for it. I had no idea if you were employed or not. I didn't give a fuck really. Can you show up on the podcast? That's all I care about. So like he would just like make up stories, and I ended up realizing, like due to my wife at the time doing that this guy was like pathologically lying about
Mhm.
a lot of weird shit. And then I had to even wonder. I was like, was this guy even in the Golden Dawn? Because like when he would tell his experience about like joining and stuff, it was like you're almost regurgitating mine.
Mm.
It was just really weird. I was like, I think he was in Amorg. I think it literally like a mail order fucking thing. Like I don't think he went anywhere. But so like I had confronted him on it, and he kind of like spazzed out. I was like, dude, I was like for real. I was like, with the shit that we talk about, I don't need a liar on my show. That makes me very uncomfortable. I said, you understand the shit that we say can affect people.
Hmm.
No, I take this actually very serious, talking about the occult. You could, whatever. I've
It's true
seen
though. Yeah.
shows where people warp people's minds, turn them into cult members, or put them on, a wrong path, in my opinion. So I was just like, I really am not comfortable doing this. So like, I was like, hey, you're done, dude. Like, I can't fuck with you anymore. It was just weird. It was just like, what the fuck? A year and a half of like some dude just basically making up bullshit stories the whole time. So I was like, I don't want the show to end. I was like, but I want to keep going. So then like I knew people in the uh conspiracy community that were into the occult, maybe even practiced, that
Mm.
had podcasts, or I just knew them as like being fans or people on social media. They might have like be a content creator, but like not a podcast. So like everyone's like I was trying to get some of them on that I was cool with to just like do things with until I could figure out what am I doing next, you know? And I kind of did that for a while, for like a few months. I did some heavy topics and there was multiple parts with people. So that like helped too. I dragged it out a little bit, but I started to realize that I was able to get like certain people on. They would come on all the time if I asked them. They just liked being on the show. So then like I kind of like grew the show that way, believe it or not. I ended up with probably like a core, like two or three dudes and a girl that I used to use all the time, Teresa. They would come on a lot. And then I just started like kind of like making friends with more people in the occult community and kind of like the conspiracy community. And I would have them on, things would work out, and it would just kind of like it just really kind of grew into itself, believe it or not. I
That's awesome.
wasn't looking to do that. At one point, when I noticed what I was doing, I there was a time where I did even say to a couple of people, even the girl I was dating at the time, I told her, I said, I kind of want to make like the Wu Tang of a cult, like podcast.
Oh my God, I love that.
Because at one time, believe it or not, it was way too many. We had like 12 people.
That's crazy.
But the thing was, is like three or four of them didn't even practice the occult. They were more for conspiracy shit,
Got you. Yeah.
and that started to become a problem. It's
Mm.
like there were certain people on the show that like everybody's a Nazi, everybody's is in the process church, everybody's associated with Michael Aquino. It was just like yo, or a Mormon. It was just like yo, like we'd get off the show, and there were certain people that would just automatically start shit talking the guest. It's like yo, you're just jealous this motherfucker's more popular than you. That's all.
So.
Let's keep it real, man. So you got to think of a way to discredit them to feel better than them. I
Mhm.
get it, dude, but like stop it. And like I'll be totally honest. This is like actually stuff I never really talked about. There was people. I had the guys from the Temple of Set on my show. I don't give a shit. I wanted to hear what they had to say. I had Toby Chappelle on, and then I did have Stephen Flowers on. I mean, if you look him up, he's fucking on Wikipedia. They say he's a neo-Nazi. I didn't know that actually until after the fact. But he talks about he's going on how Aquino gave him a Nazi dagger inside of a Nazi castle. I'm just like, oh my god, fuck my life. Like this is great. I just wanted to know about fucking what was I had him on for? Those Norse runes. I was like, I just wanted to hear about runes, bro. I didn't want to hear you talk about Michael Aquino. It was getting really weird. And even the guys on my show started busting his balls. But it was just like I had those two guys on, and like I had even people on the show started automatically calling me a Nazi. They said I ain't fucking kissing Nazi balls. You're promoting the process church now too. Oh man, it got fucking crazy. I lost like two or three people off the fucking podcast because I'm messing with those dudes. And it's like, dude, I just wanted to hear what they had to say. One of them's a PhD, and the other one, I mean, I couldn't understand half the shit he said because he's so good with fucking mathematics and sacred geometry. I'm sorry, maybe the guy's an asshole, but he's a fucking genius. Like, I wanted to hear what these dudes had to say. I don't care. Like, I don't know. It's just hard. It's just like these people are like they'll shit talk these motherfuckers, but when they have the chance to actually speak to one of them,
They
fuck you.
won't do it.
Yeah.
Interesting. And
I mean,
so,
there's people that I have had on my show that have even come out and said shit that has even been like, yeah, you're probably a fucking weirdo.
yeah,
But the thing is, I wasn't, when I had them on, that wasn't my intention to even hear that. It was
yeah,
just shit that came out of their mouth. And it's like, I wasn't interviewing them as like interrogating.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
like, if you really want to think about it, I actually had some people, and I'm not going to mention the name, you go through the shit, that have actually admitted some pretty wild fucking shit. So, as a conspiracy theorist, you could thank me for finding out that they actually admit to doing that shit.
Yeah,
They never would have said that on your show because you would have been interrogating them and they would have fucking shut down.
yeah.
I had some dude on my show admitting that him and Genesis Peorage, with rituals and surgery, were trying to make non-binary people. It just came out of his mouth. I was like, "What?
It's interesting, eh?
Like, what the fuck?"
So
Okay.
going into that, like, is there anyone that you regret having on your show?
Um. Phew. Kind of yes, yeah, for different reasons.
Yeah, and like you
There
don't
was
even
one
say
dude I
their
had
name.
on my show that called himself a doctor that I realized wasn't a doctor,
Mm,
and I never looked at his Twitter page until like I went to go retweet that he was on the show.
mm,
He has to be one of the most like ruthless, racist motherfuckers I've ever seen. Like,
mm,
motherfucker has balls to be actually saying the shit that he would say on Twitter. I was just like, holy fuck. And the amount of people that are liking it and retweeting it was fucking scary.
crazy.
I was like, yo, this many fucking retards exist.
That believe that.
And I was like, I can't believe I had this fucking piece of shit on my show.
So did that cause you to change like how you vet guests or
Yes.
like not really?
No, no, you know what that started to change? Me having people on just because of a fucking name. I still do that now, but I'm a lot more pickier with it.
Mm,
Because that honestly, the only reason I had that guest on, he had a huge name, and there was a couple of people on the show that actually liked his stuff. They didn't realize either how crazy he was because they never really paid attention to his Twitter. They just listened to the show.
yeah.
So yeah, just there's a lot of people that I've had on. I'll have to say, like, I can't think like specifics right now. There's a couple of people. I don't know if I want to say
To
their
name
names,
names.
but
I'm just
what I
curious.
will say is that the ones that I did just to get clout, I regret it.
Mm.
Every time I do that, I regret it.
So I have so many questions about this. So like, did you get the clout that you were hoping for? Is kind of one question. And then like, why did you regret it? Was it because that person like you realized they were kind of dumb or like I don't know, they were lying about their credentials or there was like a shitstorm of drama that happened? Like
Oh
what
yeah, it could
about
be.
it was the regret? And then also like, did you get the clout?
Yeah, it does help. Like, there's been certain, I guess, in the conspiracy theory community, I guess, if you're trying to like get exposure by having guests on, that probably works out a little bit better. But unfortunately, when you get over into the occult community, I don't know, people just seem to judge differently over there. It's just fucking weird. It's like the wild, wild west over in the occult community right now. I don't get it.
Mhm.
Like, people are worried about, like, yo, I just want to say, like, shut up and do magic.
Literally.
Like,
Yeah, like what do you
shut
find?
the fuck up and do magic.
So like what do you find people are babbling about right
The
now?
fucking politics.
Yeah.
I'm
Tell me
like, yo,
more. Tell me more, because like I agree, because I posted about this on Threads like last night and also today, how like I used to go to like a lot of witchy events and spaces, and like the debates that we were having at those events were about magic. They were about practice. Like if it was a debate amongst like Wiccans, like some of the old school Wiccans would have beef with the people who were solo practitioners because they were like, you can't be a witch by yourself, yada yada. Solo practice is bullshit. And like those were the type of debates that would
yeah,
happen.
yes, or like different belief systems or ideas amongst different ideologies of magic or paganism.
Yeah, or
And then
like
all of a sudden one day we're worried about fucking the Republicans or the Democrats.
yeah,
Like,
it's like
the fuck?
the
Those are your gods now?
it's bizarre because like yeah, the debates we used to have at the pagan conferences were like the hard polytheists versus the soft polytheists.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
stuff like that had to do with magic.
yeah, or
The
like
theory of looking at it.
exactly like it was all about like cosmology, beliefs,
Yes.
like
Planetary stuff.
exactly. It was like nitty-gritty
It was
conversation.
fun.
It was fun about debates about actual stuff, like that had to do with practice. And I feel like now, as you're saying, like in the witchy community, it's super bad because it's like mostly women, and
Yeah.
like, women are kind of the most like rabid, far left bullies on the internet right now, which is like so interesting as a phenomenon. Because if we look at like violence, let's say an aggression, males and females are the same amount of violent and aggressive. It just manifests itself differently. Like for men, it's often like they're gonna duke it out and then you're over it. But for women, it's like character assassination, it's bullying, it's like
Relentlessness.
relentless. So and so it's like when we're talking about let's say the OTO or like more ceremonial magic spaces being, let's say, more masculine coded, and then witchy spaces being more feminine coded. It is really interesting to see, and like I'm sure you can speak to like that section of the occult community more than I can. I can maybe speak to the witchy people, but it is interesting to see like how each subset of the magic community at large is kind of expressing this moment of like political division and like separation and whatever. Because like I posted something last night on Threads being like, all right, my conservative witches, where are we at? And like I got maybe 60 follows, which is amazing. And I'm really excited to connect with all those
I'm
people.
surprised.
Like I've DM'd with a bunch of those people. And like the last time I posted that a few months ago, connected with someone who I'm going to be having on this show eventually
Awesome.
later on. So it's like it's not for nothing. Like we do exist. There are people out there who are not like super far left woke, who are witchy or occult or whatever. But I also got, as I'm sure is no surprise to you, like a fuck ton of like bullying and like hate messages and like the most crazy vile stuff that people feel comfortable saying to me because I'm like not in their cookie cutter idea of like what a witch should be or even like what a woman should be and believe. Like it's very, very interesting. So I'm curious
You
like
know,
what you noticed on kind of like your end of it because it's absolutely mental. And I actually released a podcast episode about this today around how like part of magic, it should be about like emotional self-regulation and knowing how to master not just our environment, but also ourselves. And what I see in a lot of these spaces and people kind of being their little outrage politics is like a complete lack of self-mastery. Like they're just so easily triggered and like so easily taken away and swept away by all these little like niche political whatever, whatever that they're upset by. And it's like, where's your magic at? Like, if you're so easily like triggered by some random person, me online saying something you disagree with, like, what are we doing here? If that is what we're going to be spending our time doing on like Sunday night or whatever, like yelling at a stranger over politics, like, what's going on?
yeah. Yo, that was one thing that did weird me out. One thing I do want to say for like maybe the people that might hear this that are like on the far left. One thing I do think is like you're saying where's the conservative witches at? You could probably do a show with another conservative witch, and politics will not even fucking come up.
Totally. Yeah.
But besides that, the reason why I want to make that thing too, not that I don't go with either side. I really don't care anymore.
Which
But
is that's legit.
yeah,
Like that doesn't
but
bother me either. Like I'm not
yeah.
like, how dare you not
Oh,
be?
because I'll shit on both sides at the same time.
I think
I
that's
won't
fine.
favor either one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I,
I'm
I
just looking
totally,
at everybody.
yeah, yeah,
Everybody's
yeah.
under a microscope with me. But
I was gonna
just
say though, I think
having certain guests on, just for having certain guests on, and I hope other podcasters who have occult shows hear this. I'm not gonna throw anybody under the bus, but just from go look at the oldest shows that I've had on. Not all of those people probably think the way you think they do.
Mhm.
They just don't talk about it on their shows, so you have no idea. But a
Absolutely.
lot of people are getting tired of this bullshit with politics.
Yeah. It's so true. And I think that
There's people who are on my show that have already said they won't associate with somebody because of the way that they heard they came at me.
hmm
So
it's interesting.
that's not what I'm here for.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, honestly. Like,
Some of them are big names that you'd be surprised. I'm like, whatever. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but there's certain people that are like, I'm not into that actually, believe it or not. There's a lot of this is the crazy thing. I got harassed because it's all political. But yet, how come like three-quarters of the people's names that you think are huge in magic that we all look up to, they're not talking about it either.
it's interesting.
It's not political for them, but when it's not political for me, I'm the wrong motherfucker.
It's interesting, eh?
Why don't you go bitch at X, Y, and Z that you're always cucking for? I don't know what they're into with politics, but for some reason, because you think I might be a conservative, now I'm a problem.
It's interesting, I
That's
think.
fucked.
It's weird. And to be honest, like even just for anyone who is on the left to listen to this, like I actually have no beef with anyone who's on the left. Like I'm
Yeah,
sure my
do I? I have far left fucking guests on my show that I have on to talk about magic, and that's it.
absolutely. And even then, it's like, I don't mind discussing politics with anybody, like as long as it can be done respectfully and like we're actually coming at it from a place of discussion, mutual curiosity, mutual respect. Like, let's do it. Like, that doesn't bug me. I feel like that is like a lost art form, like debate across difference. Like, that used to be so typical, like a typical skill that everyone would kind of have. And now it's kind of this weird thing where for a lot of lefties, though maybe not all of them, like there's this thing where it's like if you don't think exactly the same way as I do, like you deserve to die, which is like a little extreme. Like, don't you think?
Yeah, it's just like, all right, if you don't like me, don't talk to me.
It's not that hard.
Like, yeah, like you forget I exist. I mean, what's so hard about that?
That's the other interesting thing.
I mean, like I said, I have people, far left guests on that. Like, I listen, I may not agree with your shit, but I think when it comes to magic, you got something worth listening to.
Absolutely.
It's like I'm not discrediting you as a whole now, like you would do to me.
Exactly. Which I think is very interesting. And like also props to the far left folks who are comfortable being on your show because like it shows they've got some balls.
Oh
Like,
no, no, because I think yeah, I think they yeah.
because I'm sure they probably get shit. And I think that's really too bad because there's this idea that like wrong think is somehow contagious. You know, the idea that there's like the wrong think is, I think is a problem in and of itself. Everyone needs to reread 1984, I think, right now. I read it at the end of last year and I was like, holy shit, how have I never read this book? 'Cause it's like so spot on for a lot of what's going on right now, which is interesting. And I think the other thing that's intriguing to me about all of the like wokeness and how does that infect even like occult and witchy spaces is like they're so convinced that they are correct. And because there's this like moral assumption, they validate the way they behave towards others. It's very bizarre. So I'm
Yeah,
curious,
yeah, yeah.
like how does that take shape within like the ceremonial magic OTO space? Like in the witchy space, it's like a lot of women being crazy bullies and like talking shit and whatever. But I'm curious, like, what's your experience and to what extent was that related to, let's say, some of the political strangeness that inspired you to leave that space?
Yeah, yeah. First, I could say magically wise, believe it or not, and I think it was why the OTO resonated with me. They're very open with you, kind of playing with or getting into whatever you want.
Hmm.
So I just never thought, like, I don't know, all of a sudden I didn't think structure or, things were going to get like serious when it came to politics. I don't know, but I do want to give them like that credit. They're very open to like just, play with everything and see what you like, like we were saying earlier,
Totally.
experiment. But all of a sudden, like when COVID came, like again, they closed the lodge, which I thought was weird. This is when I started really paying attention. Um, Honestly, there's certain other reasons I was never going to stay to be a member anyway. When you do the second degree, you will hear about other degrees and certain things that might be needed to be done to make that degree. And there was shit that I already heard that I was like not doing, not an option. So I was never going to be a lifer anyway.
Hmm.
So I already knew this at the time too. So, I have like less fucks given because I know this isn't, I'm leaving at some point. I know that for a fact now.
Yeah.
One of the things is, and I'll put it straight out there, I think the eighth degree, you're going to sign over your property to them. So that's a fucking cult now. That's a cult.
I actually did not know this. You have to sign over your property?
Yeah. And then I think in the 10th degree, you'll get everybody's shit that they signed over in the eighth. Some shit like that too.
It's like
Then,
the MLM. Like that is so
yeah, right. You find out somehow it like connects to Utah. But like, yeah, the Mormons are running the OTO MLM.
wow, that's so strange. So, like, can I ask, is there anything that you're comfortable like in the third degree sharing that like you were like, fuck that, like I'm not doing that?
No, and I even like listen, people. If you want, you can even look, whatever. Fuck it. Secret Rituals of the OTO. You can find that PDF online. Most of that, from my experience, at least from the degrees I did, are kind of on point. And I
Hmm.
know other people that have gone higher than me that have said the ones that they've done were really on point. So like I already knew and was able to go ahead and look at like what I was looking at. So I kind of already knew if I was going to be comfortable or not. The third degree I probably would have done easier than the first degree. Because the
Hmm.
first degree I had to get naked, and I was very uncomfortable with that.
Hmm.
At least I still had my clothes on. I just had to walk around dragging 60 pounds of fucking garbage behind me. Like,
Yeah. So that's it's interesting though, like when we're talking about those type of things, like collateral, I guess we could kind of call it.
oh, yeah.
Like what to what extent do people go to for like spiritual enlightenment or spiritual growth or whatever? Like it kind of is an interesting question. As obviously there are people who are comfortable signing over their property or doing this or that thing that is in that PDF, which I have not read, so I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is interesting, right? Like some people clearly are comfortable doing that. And like what do we make of that? Like I really don't know. Like I think it's ill-advised. And like you said, it sounds kind of cult-like to me.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, just for me, that wasn't for me. But I didn't want to leave this out. Besides that, like I said, now I already knew I wasn't going to be a lifer. I think there was even a point, I could be wrong, even degrees before that. I think like the person you had to be with might have had to be a member. And like
Mm.
I had asked my wife at the time to come a few times, but she always said no. But like if I told her now she had to come, and if she did come, I can tell you right now, as soon as she saw boobs come out, she would have been flipping the fuck out and dragging me out of there. So
Which is
I
fair.
was like, which is, yeah, no, totally, totally fair. You know, I wasn't even going to argue with her.
Yep.
So just basically, I think I was just like, there's no way this is going, too far. So, but what really started like flipping me out with the politics, or start noticing, is when the George Floyd incident happened.
Hmm.
They actually sent out an email through the OTO. It was an OTO like to Hootie Lodge email to out about like having like kind of a group thing or a Zoom meeting over the incident. And I just thought, I was like, oh, this is really weird. I was I'm like, well, what does this have to do with the OTO or the Book of the Law or House of the Crowley at all?
Hmm.
I just thought it was really weird. And like, believe it or not, I couldn't even have really have told you what that was.
Mm.
I knew this guy died, but like, it wasn't until I got that email did I even like look it up to like, I was like, what is this even about? Like, that shows you how disconnected I even was from politics and the TV at the time.
Yep.
I hadn't heard Antifa mentioned, and I don't know how long until I went on that fucking Zoom meeting. But
Hmm.
like, they had a Zoom meeting about it, and I was just like, all right, this is weird. And I was like, keep it honest. I'm gonna be honest. I basically went because I was like, I gotta hear what kind of silly shit this is about. I was just like, I don't understand this.
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta go. I gotta see what they're saying. And like, they basically, not everybody, because like me and I think one of the persons skipped. Like, and that's because I didn't have anything to say. I could have, but it just would have been fucking weird and awkward, and just would have been, nobody wants to hear reverse racism. That doesn't exist.
Mm.
So everybody got to talk about their version, their time of experiencing racism. I was just like, what the fuck is why are we doing this? I'm like,
Yeah.
what the fuck does this have to do with the OTO and magic? I'm like, this is literally group therapy over George Floyd.
Yeah, it's like a struggle session, kind of, which is something that
Yeah.
cults too, is like getting people to share and divulge their like vulnerable stuff in order to kind of build a deeper connection and allegiance to like a group situation. And it's very weird. It's interesting. A lot of groups, businesses got sucked up into that during that time, which is very interesting. So like what was it that finally was like, okay, I need to peace out now? Like what was kind of the final thing for you that you decided, okay, like the drawbacks are outweighing the benefits here. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
peace out. And also how was everyone's response to you leaving? Like did you lose friends over that or was there any drama or was it pretty chill?
Um, all right. The thing well, all right. So the George Floyd was already pushing it there, regardless of the lodge closing. At one point in that Zoom meeting, one of the guys starts going on about like just saying that like if they it's funny because they ended up doing it. If they ever considered Antifa domestic terrorists, our rights are going out. We can't let that happen. I think the guy was an Antifa member. I started even noticing after this other people that were in the OTO that I was friends with on Facebook got fucking extremely radicalized, promoting Antifa, promoting far left shit. So I'm just like, yo, like, what the fuck? Like, who the hell am I even going here now with? It just got really weird. And like some of them were just like obsessive. Like I understood the kid was probably slightly autistic, but like, yo, this dude, like some of these accounts are posting every few minutes, and it was just like constantly like Antifa, and I think those what are those other kids that were this back in 2020 where they were fighting with those other dudes. It was just like a lot of violence, just tons of crazy shit. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? And I was like, yo, you motherfuckers are nuts. And it was that, and then they put out a email saying that 93% of the lodge is not comfortable with people going there unvaccinated.
Hmm.
And the only way that you could really come is if you're vaccinated. And then I think they amended it to like, or like if you want, you could take a test and bring down the results to show that you're negative, and then we'll let you in. But I think you still had to wear a mask or some shit. And like, I don't know if you know, but like 93 is synonymous with the
Yeah.
OT.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. So like, you didn't email me this questionnaire because I didn't get it. You didn't email it to Jordan because he told me he didn't get it. You didn't email it to Jason because he just hit me up saying what the fuck's up with this email. I didn't get one from Mike because he's texting me what the fuck's up with this email. I didn't get one from this person. So where did you get this 93% from? You're fucking lying. You're using a number that you think is cute that everybody will think, oh, that's so fucking thelemic.
Yep.
And you're just making up shit and fucking saying it and putting it in an email. Fuck you. I was like, nah, man, this place is getting weird. That, and then there was, because I was a second degree, I heard it at, when I did the second degree, they said that there was a thing you could do for service that I was actually kind of interested in. Because again, like if you kind of go and do something, they'll leave you alone. They won't ask you to do something. I'd rather kind of pick something easy than them like, oh, why don't you start trying to go for priest? And I'm like, oh, fuck my life. A deacon. That's too much. I'll stress. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to have to do all this. So I was like, I'll just keep myself busy and they can like leave me alone. And it was working pretty well. So I was like, all right, I'll do this one job where it's like you got in touch with like the main guy. I think it was Sabazius, kind of like the head guy of the order. And I think you're supposed to talk to him once, I thought, once a month on Zoom or Skype to kind of just give him an idea of like how things are at the lodge and ask you a few questions. I guess I just thought it was just to, I guess get an update of like how the lodge is doing and shit. I was like, all right, that sounds pretty easy. So like when this like I guess like at one point, I don't know if it was around COVID, all this stuff too. I was asking somebody in my lodge and then somebody else I knew from another lodge that had this position, like, how do I find out about getting it when it ends? And the guy at the lodge is like telling me, like, I think mine's over in about 6 months. And I was like, all right, cool. He's like, yeah, he's like, I'll suggest you to him. And I was like, well, like, what do you kind of like do? And I got very vague answers from both of them, which I thought was weird.
Mm.
But then I found out it was every week.
Mm.
And I'm like, yo, what do you got to ask about every fucking week about the OTO? Like, dude, I saw some titties. I had a shot of wine and a cake of light. Like, what the fuck you got to need to know every week? And I was like, yo, is this like data mining or some shit? It weirded me out, especially
Like
when I see,
gossip or
like,
something.
or just when they went to like to the just far left shit and then just the main guy wanted to talk to somebody every week about what's going on in that lodge. I just started getting weirded out. I was
Mm.
like, it just all collectively just sounds fucking shady.
Was it kind of like surveillance-y? Was that the vibe you were kind of getting?
Well, you know what it was too? This is another thing that freaked me out. Maybe I'm taking it the wrong way. In Minerval, they specify near the end of it to only trust yourself.
Mm.
At the end of the first ritual, at the end of the first initiation, they again will specify only trust yourself. Then in the second initiation, there's things that are done to you to make it look like your brothers and sisters are playing pranks on you, or that you don't visually understand everything that's going on in front of you, that you
Mm.
shouldn't trust anybody but yourself, or not even like really what's going on around you. That's three fucking times in a row. You just basically told me, like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I really just started to question that too. Like, I just remembered that. And I'm like, I don't know. I just got getting a weird vibe. I did have my own magical experience before I left. And that place just gave me, I just was not comfortable there either with that. I
Mm.
feel like it's just not, I understand it. I do see stuff in Crowley's work, but unfortunately, I think the image that that place has and the people that are there now that I was around don't really have a clue, and it's kind of going in a different direction than my experience represents.
Mm.
Just that place did not in any way really show my experience. It's hard to explain.
No, I totally get it. And like I think it's an interesting thing that happens in a lot of like groups, like magical groups, spiritual groups, like healing groups. Like wherever there's people, there's drama.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like I
yeah.
really feel that, and that I think that's like the difficulty of a lot of this stuff that we're talking about is a lot of people go into these spiritual groups or whatever it is, like seeking community or seeking like the healing that comes from, let's say, existing together in a community of people who care about each other and you can trust each other and yada yada. And like you're all doing the spiritual shit together, cool. But then it's like there often is something that corrupts it or makes it weird, or someone goes in a weird direction and kind of brings everyone in that strange direction, or there just becomes a weirdness that happens in group-based spiritual communities. Like I would say more often than not. Like it's in my experience, it seems more rare to find something that is like actually very chill and healthy and like not kind of culty, like not kind of sketchy. Like it's harder to find those type of environments that last, let's say, long term. Like, 'cause if it
Yeah,
does have this good few, like golden few years, let's say, of everything being above board and being healthy and being all of these great things where everyone can learn together, etc. And then like often what I observe is like there is like some weird something that changes and then everything kind of gets thrown off. And it's so easy, I find, for these groups to get thrown off.
yeah, yeah. I do think the OTO is not what it was meant to be, even from what it was originally, probably.
Yeah. And I think
Unfortunately.
it's too bad, and I feel that way about a lot of witchy spaces too. Like even like the non-Wiccan spaces. It's like why what's everyone doing?
Yeah.
Like
And it's like, and it's just like weird because it's like the reason it's not the same anymore is because you're focusing on other shit besides like what the point of this place is.
totally. And like that
Like, what the fuck? You realize what you're doing?
absolutely. And like that brings me back to like the title of your show, like Occult Rejects. And like that's actually why I really resonated with the title. I was like, I feel like a reject from
Yeah,
the
yeah,
occult
yeah.
spaces.
No, totally. Yes,
So
yes.
I'm curious, like, was that kind of your intention in the title, or was the
Yeah, that was, I meant to say that before. The other guy that had the show actually came up with the title of the name.
mm,
It toss it around. I think I even ran it through gematria, and I don't know. I think there's like certain things that it matched. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But yeah, it was kind of like the idea behind it was like, well, we were both in order supposedly. I know I was. I still think he was in something, just not what he was saying, and that we both left because we didn't like really agree with the way the place was, and that we also kind of looked at it a little bit differently than typical orders or fraternities may look at magic. I think like even joining these places, you will probably get very good basic ideas, but still then I still think that a lot of it is very misunderstood, or just very ignorant to like the actual depth of it.
mhm,
And there was just certain ways that me and Lux we used to look at it. Like he was very big into like kind of adding like the sacred geometry aspect. I was adding like physiology and gematria and just other stuff that not I don't know. It's hard to explain, but like there's just I just felt like there was like a lapse of depth
mhm.
when it comes to that stuff, and we kind of like did it a little bit differently.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too, because like a lot of occultists are kind of and like magical practitioners might feel kind of like rejected from like mainstream society, and then to be like rejected from the occult community
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah. It was both. Yeah,
it's like what
yeah.
it's kind of interesting to notice that. And then on the flip side, I was really happy to like look you up when you I got your message. I was like, oh my God, there's a lot of rejects here. Like I think you got what, like 100 on Instagram,
Oh
20,
yeah, yeah, I did. It's dropped a
100,
little bit. Yeah, but like 90. I'm actually like I think 92 and 93,000.
yeah, 93,000 on Instagram and what was like 25 or
Yeah,
25,
now I'm at no, yeah, now I'm at 26, almost 27,000 on YouTube.
which is
That is a very impressive for an occult, by the
it's
way.
insanely impressive. And so it's interesting too, because it kind of begs the question of like, okay, if so many of us resonate with that theme of like being rejected from the occult, and there's like, I don't know, like let's just say like 125,000 people who resonate with that label, like what does that say about like occult spaces if so many
Well,
of us feel like we don't belong in them, even though we know what we're doing? Like it's a very weird thing.
that's what I think, which is funny, and I don't even like I'm not trying to brag, but it's like I hate to say it, but like all right, the occult rejects. If you look up, we're under esoteric podcast, we're number one. If you were to look up top 100 occult podcasts, we're number two.
Mm,
Now, like besides that, like so that should say a lot of people are listening to the show.
yeah,
I'm even it's in the top 1% of all podcasts listened.
crazy.
So like the thing what I'm getting at is that like maybe the people on the left should realize there might actually be more people not like worried about that shit than they think. Like I will tell you one thing, I have more people listening to my show than's in the OTO.
Mm-hmm.
That's the saying something.
Which
More
is
people listen to me than attend the OTO.
which is saying something.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm getting at. Like, I don't think people realize how many like rejects or people who look at magic not in the fucking box that everybody else wants to put them in looks at it.
And I think the other thing too is like, what do we do with this experience of, let's say, like being a reject? Like, are we bitching online at everybody? Like, or are we
No, we're actually debating in-depth shit. I hate to
like,
say.
or exactly, like, are we creating something? It's like you're
Yeah.
so prolific and creative with the work that you're doing. And like, I try to also create as much as I possibly
Oh
can.
no, you do a lot though. You do a lot. I've noticed that.
I do my best. It's like my podcast has like 233 episodes right now. It's like I don't know, I've got like few hundreds on YouTube. Like I'm constantly trying to like push shit out there.
No,
And
I
it's
know.
I think that not to like pat myself on the back or anything, but like I think it is so important to channel like this feeling of either like being a reject or being an outcast or being like cast out of a community and like doing something productive and creative with that, whether that's analyzing it, whether that's creating like new avenues for people to practice, like having interesting conversations. Like that's part of what I really appreciate about what you're doing, about what a lot of other people are doing, like is creation. Like it's not just like keyboard warrior, like arguing online, though don't get me wrong, that can be fun sometimes, like just for sport, why not? But we're creating something. And I think like anyone listening to this who does feel like cast off or rejected or like they're a misfit in spiritual space, like where they don't have like a home base, it's like create something, make a podcast, write a book, like
Yeah.
start like a witchy club in your
Yeah.
town, like create something. And
Agreed.
like I think it can be such a great way to like channel this energy of like yeah, this experience of like being cast out or being rejected or just not resonating with a particular space or community anymore. Like what do we do with that feeling? I think says a lot about people. Like, do people, let's say, go into a downward spiral and start to like be self-loathing and miserable and try to take everyone else down with them? Like, or are you creating something from that experience and talking about it, analyzing it, like creating a new avenue for people to explore? Like, that's what I really appreciate also about what you're doing is like you're always like creating output of things and like having conversations.
Yeah, I mean, even like I said with some of the guests I've had on, like I'll have, I think I have had Wiccans on, or I have some coming on anyway soon. I mean, I'll go anywhere from there to the Temple of Set, the OTO, the Golden Dawn. I've had Rosicrucians on. Like, again, and when I have these people on, it's not to be like, oh, you have to believe what they're into. It's just that there's somewhere in there's probably going to be a gem or two that might resonate with you. You might start seeing, again, like I was saying, those few little commonalities that run between everything.
Absolutely.
No, that is the real important shit. And I think like that's part of why I have so many people that, people that are interested in different things. Because I think there's something in there. I'll even say with religions, all those religious books, they all have something in there to learn from, regardless how much we want to hate the religion. There's probably some gems in there for us. There's
Absolutely.
something in there.
Yeah. And so, random follow-up question around your audience and stuff. Because like I follow your Instagram stories, and some of them are like pretty hilarious, and like could perhaps be like spicy or controversial to folks. And so my question is like, do you get pushback around that? And like, how do you decide like what you're posting? Like, do you
Oh,
factor in like audience reactions like at all, or are you? It's just like
yeah.
your own personality like that you're allowing to just like how do you kind of balance that?
um, yeah, sometimes there are things, believe it or not, I think sometimes when I hold myself back, it's literally of kind of doing more of occult symbolism.
Mm,
Some of my art, I can get pretty like, I mean, I guess, to me, it's just, again, for me, growing up in the 80s and 90s and being like, a metalhead at one point, like the stuff that I make is really no different than the album covers I was looking at back then. To me, I guess, I knew it was kind of like for shock and awe, and that's why I do it sometimes. But, sometimes I'll hold shit back like that. But like, I mean, not too long ago, I threw up an upside down pentagram with the three sixes around it. Said, fuck it. I tossed that out there.
did you get any pushback from that or no?
I did notice my shit go down.
And so do you care when your shit goes down?
I believe it or not, I don't to a certain extent. I know because of a while ago, and I know the show's grown since then. Like I knew my numbers a while ago, but I probably haven't really looked at my actual numbers in 2 years.
Mhm.
I basically am just doing what I like to do, and
I
it
think that's
seems
the
to
best
just
way.
be working out that way. But no, it does only because it. If anything, it's like, all right, you know what? If you, I don't know, I guess if you left the Instagram, like maybe, well, I guess it doesn't matter if you listen to the stuff or not. But like, it just sucks that like whatever. You might have actually just like not have heard something good now because of that one thing.
Yeah.
The
Like if
thing is that I don't think all those symbols are always a negative thing anyway. I think we do look at them a little bit too black and white.
I agree.
You know,
Yeah.
and I kind of threw that out there as like a shock value too. But it's just like the thing is, it's like how come if like Motley Crue put that out back in the day, you know, and that was on an album cover, we'd still be jamming to that shit. But because I put it out and I'm open occultist, which yet we know some of them were. I mean, let's fucking be honest. But
Mm.
like, how come like I put it out now? It's like bad. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's funny how like depending on the context or depending how much you like that person, you'll allow them to express themselves that way. You
Isn't
know, if
that
you like the way Molly Cruz sounded better than the Occult Rejects podcast, I don't like that symbol now.
isn't that interesting?
No, I do shit like that sometimes too. I do understand how this is one thing when a person has a magical experience, or even when you start doing a lot of shadow work, you're gonna realize how fucked up you are, and everybody else runs the same. So you can start even kind of playing around just to see people's reactions and just test the waters to see where people's minds are at.
Yeah. And
I have done that with posts plenty of times, believe
you
it or
know,
not.
it's interesting. I think it's something I'm kind of slowly starting to embrace, like being a shit disturber. Because like you know what, like it's gonna sound maybe crazy to people listening, but it's like I actually kind of don't want to be a shit disturber, but I think my existence it triggers people. And so
Yeah.
I feel like I just have to like lean into it. Like for all my astrology nerds, I've got like Mars rogue in the third house.
If you follow your own path, you're always going to be a shit stir
Yeah, exactly. And
to somebody, because you're not doing it
totally.
the way they think you should.
And it's interesting in terms of like the reactions and the emotions that get drummed up in certain people. Like it becomes interesting like how easy it is to experiment with that and how easy it is to garner like certain outrage amongst certain populations for not really even saying anything of consequence. Like it's interesting to kind of observe, and I'm sure we could have like a long conversation too about like magic and that and like energy around social media and like how does that charge up something? Could it charge up something? Like I don't know. I haven't really thought it fully through, but I'm sure that is like an interesting chat that like magic mechanics wise like people could have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was even thinking before. Not that I was kind of getting off, but like even it's just something that popped into my mind.
Yeah.
There's are even like silly as it is, there's like certain words that I have made sure I don't use when I do make posts.
Like wow. I'm
Yeah,
curious.
yeah. And it's like I'll say it right here. I don't think it'll make a difference. But it's just like like how come back in the day when I was like 14 and he called somebody a retard, it wasn't a big deal.
Hmm.
Like all of a sudden, this word retard just triggers people.
It's interesting. I feel like people are
And I
caring
was
about
like,
that word now. So it's interesting. I feel like I don't know, I feel like wokeness is going to die down soon. Maybe
and
that's
it's like, yo, when we said that, it was like there was that word was so like multi-meaning to a kid. Yeah,
mm,
you're silly, you're being stupid, you're annoying. Doesn't actually mean you're a retard. You just it was a word you just threw at somebody, somebody fucking aggravating you. I mean, like straight up, like even when you were younger, let's keep it real. You could have said the word fag, and that could have meant so many different things besides sucking dick.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It could just be like, oh, you're being a sissy. Why are you being like so fucking or annoying? You know, I'm just saying, like back in the day, these words just didn't hurt people so much. And like we weren't even saying it viciously when we did, though.
Yeah,
It was more of just like playing with each other.
and it is interesting too, like what words over time like are more outrageous like to today's audience and like looking at how that changed. I honestly feel like there's going to be like a pushback to this kind of sterilized communication that has been on the rise, I guess, for the last while. So I'm kind of curious how that's going to go.
But no,
But
you know what? I did have one time somebody sent in an email to Headless's thing, like asking about like our opinion on like certain sexuality because they've never heard us saying it, like heard our opinion on it. And like ever since then, now it's like, do I need to start watching what the fuck I have to say? I actually spazzed out on the show. I was like, I don't know what the fuck that has to do with anything. Why do you care what I think about gay people? I
yeah,
was like, what the fuck does that have to do with magic?
like
People in the fucking live chat were actually, yeah, fuck that shit. Like people are like, yo, we're tired of hearing this. What the fuck does this have to do with an occult fucking podcast? You asking what they think about homosexuality?
well, they're deciding
I
if they
was like, what?
it's weird. It's how it's they're deciding if they want to believe what you
Validate me or not?
want. Yeah, it's like very it's
I
interesting.
was like, yo,
Right.
I literally said, I don't give a shit. What the fuck, you suck a fuck. I said, you could cut your dick off, shove it up your ass, and go fuck a furry. I really don't give a flying fuck what the fuck you do. If you want to listen to my show, go for it. I just, whatever. I'm fine on my end doing me. You do you. I don't care really. You know, if
Totally,
you're doing that shit in your own home, I'll be totally honest. As long as you're not telling kids to do this shit, I really don't give a flying fuck what the fuck you do, man.
totally.
As long as the person you're doing it with is cool with you, you fucking have at it.
Yeah.
What the fuck does it have to do with me? I'm not living in your house watching this shit in the living room. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I ain't making you watch me have heterosexual sex. So what the fuck are you worried about?
Yeah,
Like,
it's
what's the fuck is the problem? I don't know. I was just like, what does this have to do with the occult rejects?
literally. Yeah, there's a weird entitlement too that I find a lot of people have to like know everything about your personal business, like your own identity, your own
Oh,
trauma.
I've been like
From
so
there.
honest too. I've been to federal prison, told people what I did. I've been a fucking drug addict. Like my life is out there. I don't
Yeah,
even.
and like same,
I
like
don't
mom
even worry.
too. And it's weird. It's like people they just feel so entitled to like want your whole fucking whatever, like oppression Olympics trauma history in order to decide if they care what you have to say about the occult. It's like what relevance does that have
Yeah.
to actually being a solid magical practitioner? Like my question would be like, is someone's life sorted out? Like, are you happy? Like, are you good? Like, is
I
everything
think I even said that. I
like
think if you
like
worry about that so much, you got a fucking problem
I think it's true.
because you're so much greater than just your idea of what sexuality you want.
Yeah,
Like I
absolutely.
just it puts horse blinders on. I
And
think.
so, question though, so like when you do get these like weird questions or like any pushback from what you're doing, like how do you deal with that? Like, do you just kind of drown out the noise and like focus on creating, or like do you have your moment of like being pissed and then you move on, or like how do you kind of deal with like the noise or the pushback or like people being that way?
Um.
'Cause like when you're big enough as a creator, like it's gonna happen kind of no matter what. So like, how do
Yeah.
you deal with like that noise?
Um. One. Oh, keep it real. I don't really get too personal with people anymore.
Mm,
Because I would actually have to say, some there was times when it was worse than others. It was really when I was in the conspiracy community that maybe I would deal with like negative feedback. But I really, believe it or not, in the last year or two, except for a few little small instances, fan wise, I really haven't had anything like verbally or textually said, but like a lot of it, believe it or not, is kind of like either behind the scenes. I'll keep it real with either people that I was working with or that I'm working with still, but things have changed and we've grown, or people that I have worked with and behind the scenes in the conspiracy community.
hmm,
Behind the scenes in the conspiracy community, and I've even noticed, unfortunately, when I got into the occult community, so you keep it real. Sometimes they say like maybe you shouldn't meet your idols. Like, yeah,
mm,
fucking for real. You find out they're more of a degenerate than I even am, and that's pretty fucking bad. Uh, if I'm saying you're nuts, you're fucking crazy. And I've met some nutty people in the occult community already. I've only been kind of like really focusing on it for the last year. Believe it or not, my show is highly more looked at in the conspiracy community. But I don't last year or the year before that, I was like somewhere in like the top 50 for conspiracy podcasts.
mm,
Just the last year and a half, I somehow blew up in the occult community.
mm.
But yeah, so like it's very it's disheartening, even in the occult community, I think, when you start kind of seeing like how these other shows are.
Mm,
Like you start like, or when you deal with them, and it's like, I'll just keep it real, especially in the conspiracy community, but I've even noticed in the occult community, some of these people, it's just like, wow, like when you get a little personal with them, they're like, you're just like, you are not the fucking person you advertise to be at all.
mm,
Like you are so sick, people probably shouldn't even be listening to you.
mm.
I'm
So
just
how
like,
do
real.
you
There's been a couple of people like that I've come across on both sides. It's fucking
like
scary.
how do you deal with that? Like, do you just kind of like disengage from the
Yes, totally, totally disengage. Stop talking to him. There was even shit that happened that I was like, I didn't even have him on the show yet. I think I still had another week left, and I was just like, fuck, I don't even want to talk to you until you show up.
Mm,
It's fucking uncomfortable.
yeah. So did you cancel those people or did you kind of just like
No, no, I will go on with this. No, or I'll leave the show up too. I won't take it down, but it's just there's certain people that I just now, because of that happening a few times, I really don't get too close. You know, or just keep it real between like you, Ike Baker, and maybe one or two other people. I might just really keep in contact besides people on the Occult Rejects, which I mean I would consider you somebody if you keep coming on anyway. No, you know what I'm saying, but like, I really don't fuck with too many people anymore. I look up. guests, believe it or not, through like the internet. I'll look at other shows or I'll look on social media for maybe even people that are just content creators. You
Mhm.
want to come on the show and talk about your shit? Try to find new people or just try to like go through other occult shows and see who's popular or who might interest me.
Mm.
Sometimes I'll be honest, I'll use ChatGPT to find me people. That's how I found you. But besides that, I also something that I have stepped up a lot more. If people to check out the show, you'll notice like in the last few months, I've done a lot of heavily solo shit.
Mm.
That's
I did
literally
notice that.
that's literally just you know what? I'll stay to myself. I'll stay with the guys and the girls I work with. I don't want to whatever. And you know, I can cover what I'm interested in and what I actually get fulfillment out of.
It's interesting because like
Instead of meeting more sicker people than me.
yeah, it's interesting because like I also used to kind of do way more collabs with like witchy people, whatever, and like
Isn't that what you
when
probably
I
thought it
got
would
to
be, right?
know them as people, I'm like, you people are fucking crazy, and like addicts or like just
Oh,
in
that's a big
like
thing. I
acting,
was one. Addicts is a big
and like
thing.
that's totally fine.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah. But I was
like
surprised how big
I'm not judging, but I'm also just like my own for my own self. Like I'm not in that space. Like I'm not an addict. Like I don't want to be around someone who is like in active addiction, like in a friendship context. Like that is not where I am at. And so it's just was really interesting basically to see a lot of kind of unhealed folks who are, big names, like kind of lashing out behind the scenes or like betraying me as a friend or like whatever it happens to be. And so I've also kind of gone more like lone wolf in the last few years. I would say probably since like 2021. And while it can be a little bit isolating, it's like there's just some parts of the community like I'm not interested in like participating, like even like for clout, like I'm just not that person. And like I don't judge folks who do stuff for clout. I think that's totally a strategy. But for
yeah. No.
myself, like
I
my
remember, yeah, when I was like telling you guests that I was getting on, you're like, eh, and you're like, I understand what you're doing though.
like I get it. Like I get it.
No, and I respect you too, because I was like, damn, I wish I had like the strength like she did to say no. I'm sorry.
Well, it's either strength or stupidity. Like I don't know which one.
You know
Like
what I think it is too? It's just I want to be like, fuck you. See, I got them on anyway. Like, it's almost like the people that's like, I know you don't like me or the show, but I got that name on.
yeah,
Screw.
I totally get it.
Sometimes it's like that too. I'll be
I
keeping it
totally
real.
get it. And like for me, I think that's part of why I've taken so long to do like a conversational show, even though I fucking love talking to people. I find it so interesting, like learning about people's journeys and all of that shit, is because like there's just so many people that I have collabed with where I'm just like, oh my God, like that person, now I'm embarrassed that like I was ever friends with that person.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Know
yeah,
what
yeah.
And it's really unfortunate and like I wish it wasn't the case, but like it did t teach me a lot about like vetting people and you
There
know
was even one person I met personally. I met them in person before I even bring you on my podcast. Like I
mm,
met the dude like in person at an event, and I thought he was cool as shit. And he seemed like a nice guy, and he, seemed to read a lot of books. So I figured, all right, he's got something going for him. But like I didn't know a guy that was like a raging alcoholic. Like
mm,
even when I met him personally, I guess because when I saw him for that few days, maybe he controlled himself. But then like the guy was taking 4 or 5 shots before the fucking podcast. He literally would do it in front of us before. And I was just like,
so
dude.
crazy. And
And
like
then
that
like 30 minutes in when he's rambling and fucking hijacking the show. And like I'm gonna be keep it real. Like I was like basically sucking his own dick on my fucking podcast. It was unreal. Yeah, it was just like, yo, did you forget like whose show this is? The motherfucker's drunk and he's going, he's fucking this guy's on in his own music video at this point. You know what I'm saying? I don't, but I can't hate him too much. The guy's hammered, so he probably doesn't realize what the fuck he's doing. But I was like, no, this doesn't work out, dude. You gotta go.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
But
it's
like I even met the person and thought I was like, oh, this is great. I knew him personally. I even thought this guy isn't gonna fuck me over. He's not gonna be an idiot. I
yeah,
could trust him. And like I still didn't know.
yeah. And it's the thing too, right? It's like you can know someone even for years and then like not really see that side of them until there is like some kind of moment where it's like
Oh, yeah. My original co-host Lux. I didn't know him at all for the first year and a half. It was all lies.
which I think is so crazy. Like I would never have someone on without a video. I'd be like, sorry, you got to tell me who you are. Otherwise, we're not fucking around here. Sorry. Like that's just my own
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. No, no, I get that. I get
Like
that.
I
I
say my
understand that
shit.
now.
Yeah, like I say my shit with my full chest and like my
Right.
face. So it's like I kind of expect other people to do the same. Otherwise, I'm like not fucking interested.
Well,
Like
I look back at it now and I'm like, the reason you probably did is because you were telling so many lies that if somebody saw your face, they'd
like
be able to call you on it.
totally. It's
I
like
think that's probably what it was, honestly. Because I'll even keep it real. Even when I saw the dude, I mean, average, normal looking dude. He couldn't even say that he was like insecure. There was no reason for that. He could
Mm.
show his face. I'm sure he probably would have got hit on by chicks. I keep it real. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure would have gotten some DMs. So
Yeah.
I was just like, there's no reason for this guy to be hiding his fucking face.
Yeah.
Unless there's a fucking like shady reason.
So weird.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
speaking of the show, like if you're going to give advice, let's say to people who want to make a podcast or want to make a YouTube show, like what advice would you give to folks who want to follow in your footsteps and get some success with that?
I think to an extent you're gonna have to like still try to do what you love and passionate about. I mean, again, before like when I said that sometimes whenever I had people on purely for clout, I didn't feel good after the fact. But I do think there's somewhat of a balance where maybe you can kind of like try to use other avenues to get where you want to get. But like in the long run, though, for me, in the long run, if you have an idea that you fall in love with, try to stay as pure as you can to that.
Mm,
Do it with love, and I think that it will resonate with, you'll find your group.
absolutely. I believe that too,
Definitely,
honestly.
because I think it will also show in your work that you love this stuff,
Absolutely.
and you'll be fulfilled.
Yeah,
That's the whole thing too. I think you'll just be fulfilled, regardless if it's 5,000 listeners or 50,000. I
totally.
think you'll be happy.
Yeah. No, I agree with that completely. And like follow-up question to that too. It's like you've been doing this for a while and you've had so many conversations with people over the years, like different kinds of people. Like
Yeah.
what would you say are some like commonalities or through lines or patterns that you notice in people's experience of spirituality, the occult, magic? Like what are some kind of common threads that you've noticed from having so many conversations?
Believe it or not, and I might get like from the conspiracy theorists, I'll probably get a lot of heat from this, but you get all these different people in different orders or different belief systems. But when you come across like the average good person, that's probably most of that idea or that order. They all kind of share the same idea that they're there, believe it or not, to have a magical experience either with the holy guardian angel and or God to become a better person.
Mm.
Like even myself, because I came in conspiratorial, I even had negative ideas of certain people before I met them.
Mm.
And it's just like, yeah, you hear, I've had people on from the Golden Dawn, again, Temple of Set, Rosicrucians, and like, you'd be surprised how much God is very important to all these different types of cultists, no matter what kind of, look it has.
Mm.
And I have noticed that there is that's still that, I guess, golden thread that there are people that, even though they might have picked the Temple of Set, they're actually just a fucking nerd that's like really interested in figuring out God.
Mhm.
Maybe it's just like, oh, that one looks edgy. I'll join that one. It's not like, I don't know, but
Yeah.
there is, you'd be surprised how much, I've even said on my show, people probably be surprised how much I'm thinking about my experience with God.
Mm.
God, believe it or not.
I
Not
love
as
that.
gangster, but it's the truth. It's the truth.
I love that. And I also love that you're talking about like self-improvement.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing that I think people are really ignorant about. Like I'm sure you could say it yourself. Like if you're really doing this work and you're trying to do this, you're going to have to work on the fucked up parts of yourself. It
Totally.
sucks, but you're gonna have to. And I think that is what stops a lot of people.
Totally. 100%. And
It's
so for
just
those,
like AA, how the fourth step they say is the hardest step for any of the alcoholics to do. Go look at the way you're supposed to do the fourth step. It would be the same way as doing shadow work and
yeah,
looking at your own fucked up behaviors.
absolutely. Is the fourth step the moral inventory?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Go, if you were to kind of just look at what they're getting at, you're gonna start looking at your own fears and hate and all that shit that fucking drives you all day.
yep.
Yeah,
And
I had to start looking at that shit, and I'll have to say, I'll even say, there's things I learned from my family members, from the dude across the street that I lived with that I don't actually fucking agree with now, and I got to change that shit and try to stop that behavior because I don't like it.
totally. And
Type
like
of shit like that, where you get real deep into how you've even been programmed.
totally. And it's like I love that you're bringing this up too, because I don't know if you know this about me, but I was also a 12 stepper. So, but not for
Oh, okay. No, no, I didn't know that actually.
yeah, so but
Okay.
I wasn't in AA, I was in ACA, so adult children of alcoholics and other dysfunctional families.
Oh, okay.
It's
All right.
like, so it's usually the one that people go to once they've done like the other 12 step about their like addiction, whatever that happens to be. And so I didn't have an addiction. My family was just like fucked up and like ruined my
Right.
brain. So that's the one where you're kind of dealing with like, okay, here's all the weird family dynamics and like
Right.
craziness and all of that shit,
Yeah, I
which I
forgot AA had a version of that. It was like
it was
the
the Al-Anon, I think.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so it's very,
yeah.
very similar, but it's like for people for whom like the alcohol part like wasn't necessarily a part of the family drama. Like I think probably someone with that could go into ACA. But for anyone listening, like it's interesting shit. Read the big book, like it's good stuff. And it is very, very spiritual as well, like in whatever way people want to describe it, whether it's God or the universe or the ancestors or the big spirit or whatever the hell you want to call it. Like there is still that at the center of it, which I think is really neat. I know it turns a lot of people off, but like the way those steps are structured, I think is like so dope.
No, no, I totally agree. I'm not again, I went to AA for a minute because of the drug addiction and just being mandated and stuff. But I did go through that, and I did go through. Believe it or not, I did actually have a sponsor. I went through all the steps and started sponsoring somebody. I even did it, long enough for that. That's but yeah, I do think that that if you implemented that shit into just your regular life, I think that would make any person a better human being.
I agree completely. Yeah. And like,
You know, it doesn't have to be alcohol. Like choose whatever's fucking triggering you this week. I'm powerless over this fucking emotion right now.
yeah, whatever it is, like there's also like the process addictions, like sex addiction, shopping addiction, like whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of people have some like weird compulsive thing that they do to cope with their like shadow or their trauma or like whatever it is. And like I love the steps. I think it's genius. Like I think everyone should read that fucking book. Like the ACA big book is insane. Like even if you've never been addicted to any substance, like it will call you on your shit in like the most chill way. And again, like I just love that it's all about self-improvement and self-mastery and like facing the shadow, improving our relationship to ourselves, improving our life. And I think that is, like, I'm loving that we're talking about that because that's kind of the point of this show in a way. And like the point that I see spirituality as being about. It's like if we're not in this work, whether it's occultism or witchcraft or woo-woo new age stuff or whatever it is, like if we're not doing that to ultimately improve our own self at the end of the day, like, what are we really doing? So it's like wherever we go, like there we are, and we're going to create ripples. And are those ripples going to be like positive, even if they're provocative? Or is it going to just be like we are the person that are like everyone is talking to their therapist about? Do you know what I mean? And then like diving our own self into a deeper hole of like our own shit and like our own bad decisions and our own like fucking craziness, which all of us have that at some point. But it's like, do we face that and heal that, or do we just continue in like the spiral of hell? It's interesting. And so I'm curious if you like with all the people you've talked to on your show, what would you say is a commonality with the people who have been able to, let's say, face that and do the self-development work? Like, is it that connection to God or interest in God or some larger spiritual power? Or like, and also, do you notice people how you've been on the show that, or that have been on your show that haven't, let's say, done the work, or that like you can tell they're kind of still like grappling with something?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I would. I hate to say this, so I'm just gonna keep it real. A lot of the people that are very well done up and have this image that goes along with what they're pushing are probably the least knowledgeable about what the fuck they're talking about.
Mm.
I hate to say it, that people have an image, they have a grift. You start tossing cause play in there for some reason, it makes you look like you know what you're talking about. I will keep that real, but um, there are people that actually, have surprised me that I've had on my show. That again, like even how spiritual they'll start getting or start talking about God. You know what? Another thing that I actually didn't realize or even know until I started heavily getting into my own show, and it's like almost embarrassing to admit how much Platonism and Neoplatonism has affected the occult community. It's basically all based off of that and Christianity.
Mhm. Totally.
How much that actually, those things have actually influenced so many belief ideas out there. I
Absolutely.
never, I've heard of those people, never really looked into their shit. Never really went past the Renaissance, to be totally honest with you. And throughout my podcast career, I just started like looking into some of the, the classic names. And
Mm.
it's like, holy fuck. I was like, yo, this shit is like X, Y, and Z that we say now and don't even realize it. Or like
Absolutely.
this idea in the occultism came from the, what the fuck? I had no idea. I was like, oh, that sounds like shit Crowley said. He just regurgitated it. Like you even start seeing like, people ripping off the OGs.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. And I'm curious if you could change one thing about like the occult community, what would it be?
Well, I guess, well, I guess it doesn't matter if it's an order or not. I think there's too many secrets. Like I
Mm-hmm.
disagree with the idea with these fraternities with their you gotta loosen up on some of that shit, man. You gotta like you give us some more breadcrumbs to at least like it's not all like there's a little bit more into it than I think. I do think physiology, believe it or not, is a part of it. I think your eyes, your brain, and your nervous system is actually symbolism in certain orders and certain art. The ciphers, the gematria, so many orders like use that, but yet everybody doesn't think it exists.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just think I'm not expecting them to come out and say like I do come out and say I think that there's a literal death and a rebirth. If you want to fuck with real magic, you're actually going to have to kind of have like a shamanistic experience and like push yourself to an NDE. Now I'm
Yeah.
not expecting them to tell that much because that is kind of fucking freaky and shocking if you really want to think about it. But there's just certain mysteries or secrets of secrets that I do think I understand inside the OTO that I'm like, yo, come on, dude. Like some of these, like really, like we can't tell a motherfucker that inside your eyeball there's occult symbolism. Like
Mm-hmm.
people are still gonna fucking have to fucking study and figure that out. Throw them a bone. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. Like you can't like tell people that this stiff as shit is ciphered. Like
Yeah.
when I go and look at Crowley's handwritten notes on the vision and the voice, you literally see him doing math on the side to throw words into his paragraphs. Now you know it's ciphered now. Like, come on, man. You can't like give us a bone to where we realize it's not all just dicks and demons. Because that I think is the problem. You make it so basic, it's so easy to go do stupid shit. Because you don't
Totally.
have to really study much of anything serious.
So what do you think would change if like there was less secrets? Like I agree with you by the way on
Hmm.
this, but
Um, I think you get a lot more. You probably get a lot more people actually coming out and being like, I've thought that too. Like it's hard to explain. Like people that may not even really be into the occult but have experiences naturally. I think like that may start happening. I think you would get maybe smarter or maybe academic people actually being like, "Oh, this is interesting. I want to look into this." Because you do have some people out there that are actually kind of into some weird science, and I do think there is a lot of science in the occult, and that's part of the secrets. I think if
totally.
you came out and gave some of those out, I do think you would get some of the actual science community being like, let's take a look at this.
Absolutely.
So I just think it would even help that way. Even, I know people, when it comes to academics, some people argue, fuck them, not fuck them, whatever. But I do think you'll get some intelligent people. Uh, I think we could get some magicians and some academics working together and actually like, doing stuff.
I agree. Like I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think that would be a great thing going forward, like almost like another renaissance.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, that I think was very science orientated, believe it or not.
Yeah. And like if
All
you
those
look
people are
back at
polymaths.
like the history of magic and science are like very close. Like I would say it's only really comparatively recently that people have like we've seen a divorce, let's say, between spirituality and science.
The Godfather of Muslim alchemy basically gave us the word chemistry.
There you go.
Or higher, whatever his name was, I forgot. Basically, chemistry is based after him. Like, I mean, there's just they have. That's even another thing that I try to tell people and people I've covered on the show. The way we view the stars and where we are in the universe has been given to you by occultists. The
Mm.
idea of gravity was given to you by an occultist. Like, yo, they basically have developed your worldview on a lot of things.
And if
You need
we
to
talk
wake up to that.
totally, and it's like honestly, I probably could do to learn a lot more about science from like that kind of Renaissance era. But as part of my PhD, like I took a whole year-long course in Victorian science. And so that was super, super, super interesting. And one of the most fascinating things I learned from that was one of the co-discoverers of natural selection, this guy called Alfred Russel Wallace, was actually a spiritualist. And he had written a book about like the science of spiritualism. And a lot of those people at that time, like doing science in the Victorian era, like in England and like Britain and etc.,
They're
like they
very
were all
open.
they were super spiritual. Like they were more Christian oriented, maybe a lot of them, but like they saw doing science as being like a kind of godly thing to be doing.
Yeah, yo, that is a thing. Yo, you nailed it. That is one thing too that I've actually noticed, not with guests, but people that I've covered in the past, that they did attribute science to figuring out God and
Totally.
trying to get an understanding of God.
Yeah.
And I don't think people don't look at it like people don't think realize that that's what they were doing back then.
Yeah, and it's interesting and it's pretty recent. Like it's only like maybe I don't know, Victorian era was like oh just I don't know, 125 years ago, something like that.
Yeah,
Like it
yeah,
wasn't
right.
that
It's like all
long
of a
ago.
sudden, like they got lost, right?
Yeah, like it wasn't that long ago, and it is interesting that now there is like such a disconnect, or like a perceived disconnect between these things. But
You know
like I'm
what
sure
I
if you talk to like any random scientist, like I'm sure at least a quarter of them would be in some way spiritual even today. I'd be surprised if that wasn't the case.
you know what I think is also a problem too. For some reason, I don't know what it is, because like even when I cover these people on my show, some of these people are like, how did you? I never even heard of these people. But it's just like for some reason, it's like we only like when it comes like even with the occult community, and especially worse with the conspiracy community, it's like they only know of like Blavatsky, Crowley era. Like some people would consider them, I don't know if it's correct or not. I've seen them considered neo pagans. Like they're really like these like new school occultists that are basing their shit off of shit from the 15 or 1600s that they were reading. You know what I'm saying? It's like we only look at maybe as far back as John Dee, and nope, nothing else exists. And
Yeah,
it's like, where do you think they learned from?
totally.
Yeah, like I hate to say it, a lot of them aren't saying much of anything new. They're regurgitating Robert Flood, Michael Meyer, Heinrich Kuhnroth. You know, a lot of them are regurgitating motherfuckers from the Renaissance. Christian Giordano Bruno, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. Oh my God.
Michael Brahe,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm trying to see like where he is on my shelf. I have like at least one book about that dude over yonder, like for my
Jacob
PhD.
Boehm.
Yeah,
Yo,
totally.
between Bruno, Jacob Boehm, and a few other people, I don't even think they realize how much they have even given to Christianity.
For sure.
And
And
it's like,
like
they were occultists.
totally. And like even going like I don't really know a ton about this. It's just a little aside. Like even like looking at the old school like churches, Christian churches in Europe, a lot of them have these like astrological clocks with like all the fucking astrology shit on there. And it's the most badass
Sacred geometry.
shit I've ever seen. And like there was a lot of overlap. And I
Yeah.
wish that was something that people talked a little bit more about. And like also dual faith practice was pretty common as well. Like people being kind of Christian, then also kind of, doing some other
Something
stuff at
else.
the
Yeah.
time, like in their own kind of way. Like that is also so common. And so I feel like also an interesting thing is like a lot of people in occultism and witchy land like are very anti-Christian, like in this way that I find like very bizarre. Like, as you were saying, like Christianity influences so much, like even like the tarot and the symbolism in like let's say the Wheel of Fortune in the world and like all these, there's still a lot there that like we don't need to make these Christians like into our enemies, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Nonsensical.
Well, you know, that is a weird thing though that sucks like in the podcasting community is that all of a sudden it became a thing. Like I'm just gonna keep it real with us with the conspiracy community. Yo, you throw Christian into your ideology, it's like the new thing to do.
Hmm.
And like they are like I don't know. I actually hate like what I guess I'm even trying to say is like I've never really experienced a lot of pushback from Christians prior to podcasting.
There.
But like, I really feel like this is my experience. I am much more open to their stuff and people that have influenced their stuff, but they have zero fucking patience for us.
Hmm.
And I've even noticed that, like, all of a sudden now, like when these podcasts in the conspiracy community throw that now all of a sudden they're into Jesus. And I'm just going to keep it real. They're probably more just as a degenerate of fucking Aleister Crowley, believe it or not. They're some of the worst motherfucking dudes I've ever met. Oh, now
Hmm.
all of a sudden Christians. If you know you're not, dude, fucking stop.
It's
But
it's a
but like and then they're just and then they gun for like the most ignorant shit and call everything satanic. And like there's some shows out there that have literally stopped to be friends with me. And I hate to say it, dudes that associate on my show that have their own podcast. They have lost friends amongst the podcasting community because they're Christians that look at our shit as completely fucked up. But yet we can sit on our show and talk about positivity of Christianity.
Yeah, it's
Like,
interesting.
why can we can still accept you, but you fucking hate us now?
It's
It's a
weird. Like,
it's a grift as well.
you know what? Like, I haven't experienced. like any hate from Christians. And that could be because I'm in Canada. It's like a little bit of a different climate up here. I don't know. But what I have noticed is like some witchy people like over the last like 5 years, like converting to Christianity. And so I feel like there is this kind of like interesting trendiness of Christianity right now. So I don't know what's going to happen with that or like why that's happening. Like, because within like typical witchy land, like even if people are Wiccan, like there's not a lot of structure. Like people are kind of just doing whatever they want. So I don't know if it's just a craving for some kind of structure or some kind of relationship to something like more historical. I don't know, but there is an interesting kind of trend I've noticed with that. I don't know, like I feel like in the witchy land, maybe not so much in occult land, but in witchy land, like a lot of witches like hate Christians. Like case in point, like
No,
one
I have.
little Threads drama I had like last night and this morning. It's like, I was like, where's my Christian witch or my conservative witches at? And everyone's like, those people are all Christian and they will burn you at the stake and yada yada. And it's like the only people burning me at any stake are the leftists, but okay.
All right. Yeah. I
And then
have noticed
also,
that with witches, though. They hate Christians, and I've noticed ceremonial magicians, I don't know how, hate Catholics. Like, that was like so many people in the OTO were like anti Catholic, and I was like, do you like have any idea what the fuck's going on in here?
that's a,
Like,
yeah, and like honestly, like I don't really feel like that makes any sense. Like I feel like there's always some
oh, it's
pretty
based
like
off the Russian Orthodox Catholic fucking man, man. It's like,
yeah,
what?
it's weird. And even with Christians hating or witches hating on Christians. Like it's just a bit like why? Like to me it just screams like unhealed baggage in some kind of way. And it goes back to what I was saying before is like wherever there's groups of human beings, there's going to be drama. And like I don't think that's necessarily the fault of like Christianity. Like I really don't. It's just people are who are shitty are going to express their shittiness in whatever group they happen to be running or joining or whatever. And for some people it's going to be Christianity, for some people it's going to be the OTO, for some people it's going to be some like crazy cult in the mountains where they're doing mushrooms. Like, I have no idea. But human beings are going to find ways to act in crazy ways.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not the fault of,
Regardless,
like, it's not the fault of like Christianity or
it's just
occult.
human behavior.
It's just humans being fucked up, which is part of why I talk so much about like human psychology and healing and trauma and attachment and all of this shit like in my content because it's like, yeah, we're witches, yeah, we're occultists, but we're also human beings and like we need to have a solid understanding of interpersonal behavior if any of us are gonna like figure our shit out in any meaningful way. Otherwise, we're just going to keep like spinning our wheels and ending up in like as a chronic like cult practitioner, like where we're just like, okay, we're in one cult. That was weird. Okay, cool. We're going to
Yes,
another one.
yes,
Like
yes.
just not noticing like the patterns of their own behavior. Like, why are they attracted to this like weird, unhealthy situation? Like, that's
Because you're
part of
not
the
really working on you. You're actually making yourself worse.
exactly, which is so common.
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure I've been there before with different beliefs I latched onto.
yeah, totally. No, it's super, super interesting, I find.
Yeah.
Um,
Psychology is very interesting when you start looking at the way
fascinating.
people.
And so, actually, if you could give people one bit of advice in terms of like self-improvement, let's say on the magical path, and how to avoid the pitfalls of being like sucked into, let's say, like a bad situation, whether that's a bad group or like in terms of like a practitioner group or a bad friend group, or like what advice would you give people who are on a path of like self-improvement and trying to avoid as many like pitfalls as humanly possible? We can't avoid them all, but like we can do our best. Like, what would you say?
This is my best probably way to attack that, and that was a lot of how I did it, and even I knew other ceremonial magicians. Me and my friend Jordan and my friend Judith, all three of us, we may have known that we were working on shadow work, but when we spoke to each other, we were actually asking about ritual technique and
Mm,
not our fucking problems. I don't need another sick motherfucker telling me how to run my life. I honestly think that when it comes to kind of benefiting yourself, my opinion, you should keep that. I mean, for me, I when I did that stuff in a lot of theurgy, I guess it was more to God or a certain aspect of God. I guess if people prefer a deity, but I do honestly think through honest, open, if you're really honest, and I think like some sort of like prayer or whatever, you're just doing honest work and you're really looking at serious shit that you want to change. I do think it's a little bit more, I think, keeping it personal between you and what you're working with and less on other people's opinions and telling you how to run your life.
hmm
You know, I also think just, yeah, being thoroughly honest about, who you are. That's going to have to help. I think that helps a lot. Um, I honestly, my opinion, I do think like now, even in orders, they had even said the magic is going to happen on your own.
Hmm.
These places might be good to go to and look at and learn from, and maybe even be this is what I don't want to do, or who I do want to be or don't want to do. But again, I do think a lot of the stuff when you're actually coming down to working on yourself in magic, it's going to be a lot of meditation and just trying to connect to God or some sort of higher deity.
Hmm.
That's just my opinion.
And so what does God mean to you?
It's like everything. It's just like a stream of consciousness that everything comes from.
Hmm. So
You
how do
know,
you know that you're connected to it?
ideas, experiences that I've had. Um, there's times like even in like my meditations that like I can bring myself very close to crossing the abyss, but if I leave myself at that one spot, it does almost seem like I just get streams of ideas and thoughts just flowing in. It's
Mhm.
almost like very close to like I don't know if you're ever into David Lynch, like his
Yeah,
transcendental meditation.
totally.
Very, I've noticed from my own experiences, I was like, damn, is that what he's talking about? Because it's very much the same feeling and idea that he talks about. That like all of a sudden you'll start getting ideas, and then he even expresses that's a lot of ways that he comes up with his own shit, and I can see that now
Yeah.
because after that magical experience, you'll be able to write a book about that motherfucker.
Hmm.
And you can express it in so many different ways if you have imagination that nobody would ever even notice.
Absolutely. And so when do you feel most creative?
Uh, after meditating or somehow like clearing my mind and letting ideas come to me. Um, yeah, so I believe it or not, like sometimes meditating, walking, the shower. There's
Yeah,
something about water. I swear to God that
I
somehow
agree.
is like it
Yeah.
gives you ideas. Or I don't know if it's like pure consciousness is just pouring on you, so you just get ideas. But I also do think like during, I just my opinion, and I've heard other people say it, that after they do have that magical experience, it does seem like that they're a little bit more open to like kind of like tapping into consciousness and getting ideas.
Mm,
It's like sometimes you ever get like a really good idea, and you're like, where the fuck did that come from? It was just so random.
absolutely.
And
Yeah, I
sometimes I
hear
wonder, is it just like you again, maybe you weren't thinking too much of anything, and then that's how you even had the connection.
totally.
You
Like
spaced out because you're actually going.
yeah, like I think there is a lot of research on flow states with that,
Yes, no, I think yeah.
relating that with like athleticism, art, like
I
writing,
even think ritual work does that.
ritual. I agree completely.
Puts you in a
100%.
flow state, especially after you've done it 300 times. Like it's almost a meditation, a physical meditation.
100%. Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. And it's like, I know for me, when I'm able to kind of get into that space and like knowing how to access that space, I think is also crucial. But when I'm able to kind of be there, like that is when a lot of my ideas kind of come through
Yeah.
as like totally love that. And I think that is such a benefit for anyone who is devoting time and energy to these practices.
And I think, believe it or not, I think meditation and chakra work, I think you'll do pretty good if you do that too as well.
And I love chakra work. We should
I
definitely
think
like
that's really important
have
to
a
know your
whole,
body energy.
yeah, we should definitely book in a chat about that because I feel
Oh
like
yeah, I would definitely yeah.
you could say about that, especially with the color video you just did. And I've got a fucking lot to say about chakras. I love
Oh
it.
nice. Okay,
I
cool.
just got my aura photo taken for the bazillionth time on the weekend,
Oh
and
shit. Okay.
I love
Okay.
that shit.
Yo,
Like,
Headless is huge into aura stuff. He's got the glasses and stuff.
I love it. I'm all about
Yeah,
it. Like, so we should
yeah,
definitely
that
talk
would
about
awesome. We definitely have to make that happen.
yeah, yeah. And to be honest, another episode I want to do with you, which I thought we were going to get into today, but we've already talked like so much about other stuff, which I'm not mad about at all. It just
Okay.
means we've
Good.
got to record two more. I wanted to
Okay.
ask next time about like weightlifting, body stuff, prison magic, like embody all of the things. Because like to me, that is also super interesting. And you were talking about the physical body, and it's something that
Yes.
I think a
No,
lot
I
of
think
people
very
are
important.
like for whatever reason like scared to talk about or don't want to talk about. But like for me, it's like everything is the body, really. Like it's so important. It's like the
Totally agree.
instrument through which we experience like magic, ritual, spirituality, life. Like it's so, so, so crucial. So I definitely want to poke your brain about all
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, I think it just like real quick, I'll say it like this. I do think that stuff is very important because it's almost like, I think if you want to start learning your body energy, which I think you have to,
I
I
do.
think staying physical is going to keep everything like kind of connected. I think if you stop, it's almost like shit gets crumpled up. It's not everything's making
That's cool.
contact.
Energy.
Yes, you open yourself up, and I do think it's much more of a benefit if you want to start feeling the energy within yourself if you are
I
active.
agree. I agree. And like energy work, like there is a sensory aspect to that.
And the crazy thing is yet you will, as woo woo as this feels, as it sounds, you will feel it.
You will. Yeah.
If you, I swear, you feel those chakras
If
spinning around.
if you show up often enough and you show up and do the shit, like and aren't discouraged by like, oh, I did it my first time, I didn't feel anything, like whatever,
Oh
just
no,
keep
I
showing
did
up.
it. I did it for a year. Where I think I felt.
Yeah. Like keep showing up and then it will happen. That's kind
Yeah.
of what I always tell my students too, is like you gotta like show up and do the work and do the energy practices and then it will come through. But it's like you're right, like the body is the vessel of this experience. And if we're going to be sensing energy in whatever kind of way, like we have to be keyed into our senses in the mundane as well. Like one of the most important things for me over the past few years is to develop my palate in terms of taste. So like now I become a wine snob. Like I do fine dining. Like I cook a lot. Like, like
Well, I
really,
have noticed you have posted some nice looking food every once in a
yeah, yeah, yeah. So like I'm a
while.
fucking food snob now. And that
Yeah,
was
that's
an
nice.
intentional thing. Like being like, okay, I need to get more in my body. Not like I wasn't, but like, let's see how much further can we take this? How much more deep into these senses can I get? And like same with weightlifting, and we'll talk about this next time, but
Yeah.
it's like how much more about my body can I notice? Like the differences between like these muscles and those muscles, blah, blah, blah. Like all of that is going to translate into how do you show up in ritual? How do you show up as a witch in my
I
case?
really do think there's, yeah, yeah.
Like,
They
because
all
it's
work hand in hand.
that's the vessel of our experience. Like, because if people are numbing out and not engaging in like real life, like what is their palette that they can experience energy with? Like, it's going to probably be not that good. That's I feel like very strongly about that.
If you can remember and memorize, like I said, like a workout, that's gonna help you, believe it or not, with your ritual work because you're already used to memorizing a bunch of different things to go.
Totally.
You're already somewhat used to a physical meditation because I mean, sometimes we zone out where we're doing that shit. We're probably in the flow state and don't even realize it. That's
Absolutely.
gonna help you turning over to ritual work. Not to keep going on, but yeah,
Yeah,
just so many things that I think is important that
absolutely.
that can help each other out with that.
Even something like yoga, like that, if it's a well done
Yeah,
class, it's gonna
yeah,
have that energy flow of like, okay, we're building up the energy, we're directing the energy in like the crazy pose, and then we're like
like
kind
that
of
in Tai
out.
Chi.
It's the same thing. And it's like a person could even like send out their intention during like whatever the crazy pose is that we're building up towards.
Yeah.
Like, you
The
know what I
OTO is real big on pushing yoga, actually.
mean? Well, I don't know.
Crowley was big on, yeah, on pushing yoga as some sort of physical meditation and
There you
type.
go. I think it absolutely is. Like, and especially when it's done with a really good instructor. Like, and if you're like in the zone, like there is a ritual to that. And so that's part of why I think all this shit is so important. Everyone needs to fucking figure it out. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I've already been keeping you for 2 hours. I feel like
quite fast.
I need to like ask you about other things at another time, but I'm glad that
Yeah,
we've kind of
that's
got all
fine.
this kind of background, like
Yeah,
occult nerd shit out of the way. And then next time we can talk about the body and weightlifting and
sure.
all of that spicy stuff. And I'm sure we'll also get into chakras. I think that's
Yes, yes,
really,
yes. I'll
really,
get you
really
on our
fun.
show for that or whatever. Or we could share it on each other's.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, we'll figure it out. That'd be really fun.
Oh, yeah.
And two final questions. But actually, before I ask these, how can people find you? What is the vibe? YouTube, Instagram?
Yeah, I got I guess yeah, for social media I'm on Instagram and Twitter. I'm also on YouTube, and then I do have audio podcasts that are on like Apple, Spotify. I will say though, for people that might just be hearing about me now, unless you're somebody who loves video, I may actually start doing a little bit more on audio than video, so it might be worth to like check out the audio. Because believe it or not, like certain things that I do, if I don't have to worry about making images or if I can just write a script and speak into the mic, I can pump out a lot more work.
It's true. Yeah. And I feel
So,
like
so and not everything needs to always have a visual. And I'm just, to be totally honest, I don't think you need to look at me for an hour and a half either. So I'm not trying to do that. I'll just put out the audio.
and you know
It
what?
just gets weird.
That's part of why I love doing the audio podcasts that I started with.
Yeah.
It's like Secrets of a Witch podcast for anyone who doesn't know. It's just fully audio because I don't have
Oh,
to
that's so
worry about like,
sweet, right?
like I don't have to worry about what my face is doing.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You can wake up
Yeah.
still picking your morning coffee and just start spitting shit.
I don't have to look normal. I can be like in bed, like recording with like a double chin, like at
Yeah.
3 in the morning. Like That is most of my episodes are recorded like that, which works for me. But I also love this like video component and like the YouTube component where it can be more interactive, which is why I love doing YouTube lives as well as like getting people to actually engage in a kind of interactive way. So it's not just a passive consumption that people can kind of feel like they're engaging with the vibe. Like,
Yeah, yeah, that is true though. I have noticed that that's one thing that I've noticed. Like the more I started engaging with my listeners, my YouTube channel started doing a lot better too.
oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, I do try to engage with a lot of the people in chat and stuff, and I've noticed
I
YouTube.
love the YouTube chat. I love the YouTube.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, so my two questions I want to ask at the end of
Yeah.
this for everybody is relates to the title of the show. So, first question, what is something you're not doing right now because you found it harmful?
Oh, drugs. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I guess that's
honest
kind of an
answer.
easy answer, but
Well,
yeah.
that's a legit answer though, because I think a lot of people do still dabble in that stuff and like don't think it's that big of a deal. Like I think a lot of people, especially in big cities, like are so desensitized to that.
Crimes. I commit. I don't commit crimes anymore. It's unhealthy for me.
Keeping it real over here.
I'm
I
just
love
yeah. No,
love it.
there's a lot
Okay.
of times that like there's been a lot of thoughts that have gone through my head about
Yeah.
illegal activity, and I'm like, you know what? I went to federal prison. I don't think I should do that again.
Well, there you go. And I love the
I'll
honesty.
keep it real, man.
I think it's great. Okay, and then on the flip side, what is something that you're doing right now that you find very healing, whether that is a book, a practice, a mindset, a habit?
I hate to for it to be a cheesy answer, but it's the solo stuff that I've been doing recently on my show. Like a lot of the solo people are covering the herbs and the colors. I'm doing something now on auras and Johannes Kepler and sacred geometry at religious and occult places. It's just kind of outside the box of just different shit that I think helps listeners, at any rate, it might be interesting to them. And I
Mm,
do try to bring science into all of those when I cover them. I do
mm.
get a lot out of I get a lot of fulfillment out of doing my own stuff in a weird my weird sciencey way.
I love that. So
Yeah.
creation, like it's true, like creation can be so, so,
Oh,
so,
yeah.
and just good for us, I believe, for
Yeah.
sure.
And not to sound like selfish or whatever, but like when I do the solo stuff, like I'm in charge of the show. Like it's going to come out exactly how I want it. I don't have to worry about anybody else interfering with that.
Yeah,
It just may not be sound any different for somebody who normally works with themselves anyway, but for me, that is a big deal. I'm doing stuff alone now with everybody else. There's definitely a difference of fulfillment than working
absolutely.
with
And then you
community.
can connect to like what your vision is and
That's
express.
exactly it. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. All right, well, thank you so much
Oh,
for being
thank you.
on my little show.
Yeah, no, that was great. Thank you. I was excited when you told me. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. And we'll have you back and we'll do a few more chats because like I think some of these topics are going to be super interesting. So I'm going to click stop recording and but stay on because I want to say goodbye properly. And thank you everyone for listening to the show. We'll catch you next time.